Hello everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm your charming self-proclaimed yet still humble host, Mukluk. Today we are jumping back into Chrono Trigger. I was told by some other people we're in the Endgame and might finish it today. I don't actually know because I don't know how long this game is. However, that's where we're at right now. So we are going to resume where we were last time. Now, had a few interesting messages since the last time over on Mukluk Plays. Shout out to the people who watch it there. One person was like, why did you skip saving Chrono? Why did you just go past that? I just want to say, I didn't know. Like, this game doesn't have a quest log. It doesn't show you where to go on the map. You just got to figure things out, right? So I've just been following the breadcrumbs it gave me. I ended up here. I very much assumed, since Chrono was the main character, that I would just find him again along the main storyline. Now, because of that YouTube comment, I'm believing that there is an ending where you don't save him, and I am on my way to that, and I just didn't know. So, I guess if that happens, it happens. But yeah, I have just been... I've just been following the breadcrumbs. That's it. I've just been following the breadcrumbs and ending up wherever I end up. It's a very, very blind run. I really wanted to not spoil. I thought you would ask and would have been happy to give you some hints, but I didn't want to spoil. No, I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you didn't. Yeah, I don't recall it telling me to do anything specific to save him. There was one point where it said, ever since your crash landing, we saw someone, some figure, you know, waiting at the Northern Cape, and I was like, oh, that's Chrono. And it ended up being Magus. So I was like, okay. And then from that point on, I had no idea where to find him, other than possibly, you know, here in the MSQ. So I guess if he's gone, he's gone. I wish these looked different. Like the dead one looks the same as the live one. I swear I killed these last time. I guess that was after the save. Okay. Magus learned Darkness. Alright, let's see, tech. Wait, yeah, hold on a second. Where's reload game? Yeah, I think it loaded the wrong save file. Because, like, when I go up to this thing to save it, there's another save that's further along. Resume is the command for most recent. I did resume, and it... Save over that one. Yeah, no, resume did not load the most recent file. Obtain speed capsule. Remember, because we got this speed capsule, we went to give it to her, and then it said that she was capped out on speed, and then I gave it to someone else. Yeah, so resume does not load the most recent file. I think there's a boss here. I don't remember what it was. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I beat this guy. I think I did. Hang on a second. Hold on. I'm gonna Alt F4 this, and we're gonna go to we're gonna go back to the main menu, because apparently you can't go to load game once you're in the game. Alright, load game. Let's go back down here. Let's do this one. Boss is dead. Yeah, okay, so there's concrete proof. Hitting resume does not load the most recent save. It didn't even load the 2 most recent saves. It went back 3 saves. So, okay. What is that? Oh my gosh. Shell counter. Okay. Now, I turned auto off as soon as I saw counter, but it was already in the queue, so now he gets shot too. And he's dead. He's dead. As soon as I saw counter, I turned auto off, but the whole party's gonna kill itself before it's going to take that command. It's the worst combat system I've ever seen. Alright, since we know resume doesn't work, I have to do this manually each time. Hey, my Quick Guild Wars 2 question. After 10 years, just noticed it has a combat log in the chat window. Has it always been there? I don't know how long it's been there, but as long as I can remember, yes. It's been there for a while. Oh, he has 0 MP right now. Shoot. Alright, I don't know what to do. Let's see. Alright, testing stuff. Boulder toss. Miss? He counters and kills her even though it was a miss. Alright, so I gotta figure out how to get through his counter right now. Water to 0, and then he gets 1 shot. Targeting the shell at all is a no-no. Coffee, shut up. Oh my god. Oh my god. Alright, well I know the answer now. I want to load the game, but there's no option to load game when you're in the game. I just got here, misunderstood in the game you are. I have no intention of giving away unknown info. I mean, it's in the title. Every day. He's getting multiple turns while I'm trying to figure out how to, while I'm trying to figure out the menus. I don't think I had any spells on Megas that were AoE. I think they were all single, or sorry, other way around. I don't think I had any on him that were single target. I had thought Lavos spawn were encounter. I didn't know this was a Lavos spawn. I thought this was Lavos. It looks just like him.
Let's rock.
This is a pine cone. I like that. Please don't kill the frog. I was in the menu. Please. Damn it. I'm like, I watched the first 5 episodes of Chrono Trigger and Mukluk Plays. I got really excited, was proud to finally caught up. You uploaded 12 more like 20 minutes after, now I'm behind again. I'm glad you're enjoying it. The game itself has been a mixture of fun and also frustrations. Right this second, frustrations. Like all good RPGs? Yo, I disagree heartily with that statement. Is he about to get killed again while I was trying to heal him? I don't even know if I should use another Athenian water. He's just getting 2-shot every time. So boulder toss just doesn't work. Is it frustrating as in difficulty or mechanics or the keybinds? No, the keybinds are easy. See, like right now I'm trying to talk to you and he's like taking extra turns. Like that's part of it. Okay, so the keybinds took a while to get used to, right? But it's basically just, you got WASD as movement, and then there's 4 other buttons. The defaults are ZXCV, and those take the place of the 4 other buttons on the controller. Not a big deal. Although occasionally there is some weird ones. Like there was one where it told me to press X to take control of the jet thing, and it ended up being like numpad 7. I had to hit almost every button on the keyboard to figure that one out. Other than that one weird time, it's mostly just like, okay, instead of A, I press Z and stuff like that. It's not a huge deal. My issue is mainly the combat system. It's like, let's say at the start of the frog's turn, I know I want to go into the tech and heal him. And it goes to the start of his turn, and while I'm going from there to there, the boss takes another turn because he jumps in front. Stuff like that. It's like right now, do that. So he just took another turn there while I was going through the menus because I left the... Anyway, not all the menus pause the boss's turn. Which is very, very frustrating. That combined with the fact that all these late game bosses seem to like two-hit the party members is really frustrating. It asks you in the beginning if you want it on or off. Wait, what? On or off? I don't know what you're talking about. If you're talking about wait, it's on wait right now. It barely does anything. Just to show you, because I don't want you to think I'm just ranting. It's on wait right now, and we've got battle speed set to very slow. The boss still cuts in line and like takes extra turns. Also, we found out today that when you hit resume, it doesn't load your most recent save file. It like, I don't know, I think it goes back to like the first time you went to the last save point or something. But if you went back and reused a save point, it doesn't incorporate that when you hit resume. It loaded autosave, not manual save? That might have been it. See, I went into the wrong menu. I'm like, wait, no, I want to do the other thing. And then it's too late. I don't know how strong this is. 830. That's worth 3 MP. I watched a video from Josh Strife about Chrono Trigger. After you finish the game and watch it, you may understand why you had so much trouble with the fights. Yeah, I plan on watching it because I enjoy his videos, but I didn't want to get spoiled. That worked out well. But yeah, I do intend to watch it after and see what he had to say. I'm waiting for the frog to show up as an option. There we go. Crap. See, okay, I meant to go into this screen for the frog, but if I go back a screen, he's gonna hit the frog and kill it. So now I've got to use her turn to heal. Sorry again for the spoils. I never wanted to ruin the experience. I understand. I don't think you did it on purpose, Coffee. The issue has just been, they've been like, just, it's been a barrage of them. Okay, I guess we're healing again. It's kind of, as you just figured out, it seems to just come really easily to people. Like, they don't even realize that when they say something, that we hadn't gotten to that yet. What was the last story beat? We lost Chrono. We met Magus. Magus joined the party. And then we found this, like, ship. And we started kind of wandering around on this ship and finding all these enemies here. Kind of just stumbled upon this place. However, because of spoilers in chat, I now know that this is pretty endgame. I now know that I probably missed saving Chrono, although I don't understand how I was supposed to do that. So now it's just a lot of really tough fights. Hey, Monkey Chat. Hey, Goddess. Waiting on the frog to fill his meter. Gonna have Magus use his turn to give her an ether. Ah, dang it, I hit the shell. Why does it default to the shell? In the early game, if I moved the cursor to hit a different body part, on all turns after that, it would target that different body part. However, in... Nice, he took an extra turn while I was talking. However, in the end game, it's constantly resetting the targeting, and I have to manually change the target every single time. Okay. I'm just gonna reload it. He's just spawn camping her, and I'm just burning the last few Athenian waters that I have. I believe the targeting issue is just with this enemy. No, it's not. It started happening a couple streams ago. It's like in our playthrough as a whole, like the first half of the playthrough, it would remember what I was targeting, and then the second half, it has completely forgotten it. Alright, let's see, do this, inventory, shelter, just to get their ether up. How's Chip? He's good. I think he's crashed out on the sofa right now. I was petting him this morning. If it helps, I saw that same thing with the targeting early on in my own playthrough. I believe it. Okay. If he's gonna do that, then we need to change what we're doing. So yeah, I don't... let's try barrier on the frogs. The frog is fragile. I don't know how much this is gonna help. I wish also I could turn up the animation speed of the friendly stuff. Unfortunately, the only way I know how to do that is the, when I put it on auto. But because like auto is both automatic gameplay and it's also animation speed is increased. You can't. It's like they're not separate options. I can't tell if the barrier's helping. It says magic defense is increased. I don't know which of its attacks are considered magical and which ones are not. Can I ask a QOL question? Yeah, go ahead. My only concern is that you're not getting so frustrated with the struggling that it ruins your experience. That would make many of us sad. I mean, if I wasn't having a bit of fun, I would stop. So, like, I do wish to finish the playthrough. But it's like, I'm not so frustrated that I want to stop playing. But I admit it is, like, for example, in the first 15 minutes of this stream, I got spoiled twice. And I'm about to pull my hair out over that. Like, I considered turning on emote-only mode in the chat. However, I like talking to you guys. It's part of why I do this. If I felt that I was required to turn on emote-only mode to enjoy this game, I would play a different game. Like, I like talking to you guys more than playing the game. So I would not make that choice. But for some reason, I think over the last year, during the 110 games we played last year, the biggest issue we had with spoilers was Black Myth Wukong. A lot of people would pop in and would be like, oh, there's a secret item behind the left brick in the wall there. And I'd be like, dude, shut up, you know? And that would happen occasionally. This game has been at least twice that. Like, this record-breaking. Like, it's at the point where I'm putting "no spoilers, please" in the title every day, but it doesn't matter. Does Black Omen lock you into a point, can you not leave? I'm not sure. There was one point where we got captured, and we were trying to, He took another turn while I was talking again. There was one point where we got captured, and we had to get our gear back. And we were leaving a room, and it says, "We haven't gotten everything. Are you sure you wish to proceed?" And I was like, oh, I didn't get all my gear back. And I went back, and I found all my gear. And then I went to leave again, and it says, do you want to proceed? And I was like, yes, I got everything. And now I'm wondering if that's when I missed Chrono in some fashion. But I don't know for sure. Oh, wait, is it over? It's... okay, there we go. Magus' level increase, Ayla's level increase, nice. Okay, I've never used Cure 2. Oh, that's a massive single target heal, okay. Is this the statues again? Yeah. That's probably gonna kill the frog. Yep, alright. Since we already used Dark Mist, they could probably just auto it. See, I like having her on auto once she's locked onto the correct target because her speed is so high, she can take 3 turns for every one of Megus's. But if I'm doing it manually, she loses so many of those extra turns. And the boss gains so many extra turns. Alright, healed up. And... save here. Oh! There's Chrono? Oh, maybe I didn't miss it. And Marley. Why is Marley here? Maybe these are just illusions. Okay, yeah, there's us. Or it's... okay, hold on. Time travel. It might be us at a different point in time. Alright, I'm not looking at chat. You guys probably already said whatever it is. Is that the queen? That is the queen. I know what you have seen. It is your futures that slumber in this hall. There we go. Destiny in its essential form. All the dreams that might have been, all the happiness and sorrow you might have known. Your tomorrow as it has been witnessed. The Black Omen transcends time and space, drifting through the all and nothing, waiting for Lavos to awaken. Destiny has led you here, and here you shall remain. Unless you can defeat me and bring down the Omen, there is no future for you. You really thought about it for a second there, didn't you? Come, children. Lavos slumbers. I will guide you into the depths of his dream. Did I say dream? I meant, of course, his eternal nightmare. Reduce HP to 1. Okay, did she just smooch him? She healed for 8. She just wanted a kiss? I mean, both teams right now are using kisses, so... She took MP, not HP? Why is it written in green either way? Fine, whatever. And I just turned it on auto for like a second, so... okay. I thought I had lost the turn already. Slurp Kiss, Dark Bomb. She's hot for Magus. Yeah, I guess so. Triple Kick. See, she just did triple kick. I selected frog, and it was already her turn again, and I can do a heal combo. That's how fast she is. But we lose so much of those extra turns from speed because of the menu system. Muck, what's been your favorite dual or triple tech so far? Slurp Kiss is carrying me. So I guess that one. I have to wait on the frog's turn. I actually don't think I've ever tried or had the time to be able to try a triple tech. I don't think I've ever seen one yet. Is this turn-based or speed-based? Neither! It's the worst of both worlds. And I'm not joking. It's a very novel system where it's kind of like there's menus and whoever punches in their command gets to go first. Even if you're faster than the other person in stats, if the other person hits the button first, which the computer is perfect at, then they get to take the turn. It's turn-based on speed with no pause. It's a Jeopardy system? Yeah. Halation is too powerful to be used that often. Well, at least she's not hitting very hard. There was a guy, chat, who did I fight recently that was, it reduced the health of a target to 1, and then, like, before I could even take a turn, it would then hit them for, like, a 500 to 1,000. Like, that was very recent. The Golem Sisters. It might have been the Golem Sisters, I'm not sure. But, so, like, this feels like a weaker version of that guy. Because, like, that shot, when the golems did that, it was, like, 1,000 damage or something. Like, this, honestly, feels easier than the last 3 boss fights. But I don't know if she's gonna have another phase or something, you know, just based on what I've seen so far. So she goes crazy fast. I'll have her go ahead and attack. And then her turn will be up again when the frog goes. Like that. I mean, Chrono Trigger, what was your strategy? French kisses, big magic. He's already been sapped of all his magic. It's just the, it's just big kisses right now. Obtained a Mega Elixir. Oh, is that it? Arg, my powers don't seem to work here. But I've a better idea. I could feed you to the Mammon machine. You'll be made one with the Omen, Lavos and me. What? I am very low health. Okay, mid-ether on yourself. Alright, so phase 2 is just a completely different guy. Attack sacrifice to increase defense. Okay. Does this game support ray tracing? I don't even know how to talk to you. Release stored energy. Dark bomb. Guess there was a next phase? Yeah, I guess so. The Mammon machine remains still. You just said you were still! It said it remains still. I turned on auto for a second, spent all my turns, and then he hit me. It was a joke, bro. See, like, again, if I have an opportunity to turn it on auto for a moment, she's gonna get so many more turns. Alright, it says it's release stored energy. I'm guessing when I hit it, I'm increasing the strength of this attack that he's using, the big red one. So once he's not taking much damage anymore, I'm wondering if I should stop swinging. I'm honestly surprised how well the last few battles went. Well, someone told me the answer for the guy with the shell. I hadn't yet figured out that he had multiple spots you could target him on, so that one was given to me. The others since then, we figured out. I was selecting heal on himself, and then he died. This is another thing, and I know this comes from controller. I've got her selected. I press the left button, it skips the frog and goes to him. I press left again, it goes to the frog. Alright, so now we just wait until he goes boom. Maybe do some buffs. Oh no, he used another ether. Slurp kiss in the queue. It's probably going by their order on the list, not position on screen or something. Maybe. It surprises me that that move, with how large it appears, is not AoE. Okay, use Cure 2 on self. You Dart Bomb. You Cat Attack. So I probably just lost a turn for Ayla there, just trying to select Cure on the frog. Phase 3. Little cutscene. Wait, can I move? Oh no, I can't move. Okay. I thought it wasn't doing anything. Is it gonna make us fight Chrono now? You maggots. I am the queen who shall rule for all eternity at Lavos' side. You will not stand him up. I just beat you up. Like a minute ago. Fool, no thing, no life can last forever. Magus, you are deceived. A pitiable plight. One deserving of mercy at least. I will put an end to all of this. Accursed prophet, do not think I have forgotten your transgression at the Ocean Palace. You shall pay for it now with your life. I just beat you. Was she Zera now? Oh my god. Four damage, okay. Hitting the hand on the right's no good. Try the one on the left. Left one is no good. Left one counters and reduces you down to 1 hit point. And she blasts him before I can navigate to this heal in the menu. Okay, so if the hand is like that, it's countering. There's another water. There's another water. I need an AoE heal. Give the frog a single turn. Don't make me fight this guy again. Hold on. I want to look at the list of save files and see if there is another one. This is even further back. So anytime I wipe on her, I have to do 2 boss fights over. I have to fight her, the one before her, and then her again, while I'm trying to figure out the fight. Okay. Alright, we're doing no damage at this point. I can't even find my mouse. Right, there it is. I was considering what I wanted to do. I needed a minute. Now I have to use it for heal. Because he got an extra attack and I lost a turn. It's not only XP, but also equipment that makes the fight hard. Well, sure. I mean, that could be applied to any RPG that ever came out. Yeah, of course that's correct. Yeah, I mean, any RPG, your level will make fights easier, your gear will make fights easier, your build, if it's a game where you can change how you build your character. Right now, though, I think the issue right now from talking to some of you and you guys giving me way too much information is that I've accidentally stumbled into the final dungeon. And it's just like, I ended up here, and I should possibly be stronger. And then also I'm struggling with the combat system at the same time. Let's see. I applaud your gumption, Muck. I'd have uninstalled this. I wouldn't care about what my audience thought about it. You're an amazing streamer. I mean, I'm not real proud of how sour I've gotten a few times playing this, but I do know some people are very invested in this, so I'm trying to finish it. To be fair, I never played this game. At least the old FF games let you heal up and prepare between boss fights for the most part, but some old games do have a tendency to throw you into a boss gauntlet. Coming from someone who played the game who always tend to grind unnecessarily, I personally still have a time keeping alive sometimes, and I actually appreciate that. This run for you is particularly hard, but it would keep you guessing either way. If you're a bit underleveled, why not leave and explore a bit? Because if I'm at the final boss, I just want to finish it. I'm sure there are financial and viewer retention reasons, not just give up. No. If I was doing, like, okay, if I was all about financial reasons for today's stream, I'd be playing Guild Wars 2. I would get triple the viewership playing GW2 than this. But no, I'm very invested in this, and I want to finish it. Is the thing. Mark, what are you doing against Guild Wars Monday? That's tomorrow. Guild Wars Tuesday. Mutiny Monday. Alright, so we just need to wait until he does that.
Spicy?
Alright, auto for a moment. So she gets all the extra turns. Alright, auto off. Hold on, I want to read that big message in chat, but I have to wait till I can get into a menu. Okay. Hey Mug, being honest, I think you're missing some mechanics of the game for being a streamer, not reading or paying attention to all that happens during the battle. I don't blame you, but I think that makes it harder for you. I mean, yeah, it's possible I'm missing some mechanics, sure. I'm doing my best. Like, right now, it's spamming me with a message that the Mammon Machine remains still. Which seems to be completely useless information because then he hits me right after. He's not remaining still. So, I mean, that's the kind of messages I'm dealing with right now. As far as what you're referring... I don't know what you're referring to, so I can't really defend myself on that specifically. Alright, so we're gonna stop attacking now. And just be ready to do the big heal when he hits. There it is. Remain still. Alright, turn off attacks. Alright, so the next fight, the frog is gonna start almost dead. Let's see. That's killed. Kingdom Bled. Oh my gosh, banana. There's the extra risk that comes from doing this on stream, and people being careless with spoilers make it hard to want to look into help when it gets frustrating. Did you get the message of magic sacrifice to increase the attack due to magic attack? No, just at the very end there, I did a big magic attack with Dark Bomb, and it just said the Mammon Machine remains still. If it said that message earlier, I may have missed that one. In the grand scheme of thing, Muck, is this GOAT game of what people say it is, or story-wise? I think it was a GOAT game of its time. Playing it now, I'm absolutely not feeling that, no. But I think for, like, when the time... Like, this came out in 1995, right? So I think at that time, it was, like, you know, really, really, you know, big for its time. Alright, I don't know if it's gonna help, but I'm gonna put barrier on him. You try hitting her in the face. Okay. Oh god, she got him twice. Cure 2. Alright, none of the arms are up, so let's try Dark Bomb. And see what happens. Oh, actually, it looks like this isn't gonna reach the arms. I guess that works out. Starburst. Slurp Kiss. Alright, so it looks like I can safely use Dark Bomb on her face, and her face is too far away from her arms, and the AoE doesn't reach them. So I don't have to worry about the counter arm. Slurp, Dark Bomb. Gears of Darkness. Is that AoE? That is AoE. Waiting for the frog's turn. Slurp Kiss Dark Bomb. Megas needs Ether. Open the gates. Okay. I was about to do heal, but I think he's gonna need cure. I'll use the... I only have a couple of high ethers. I'll use one now because it feels like we might be near the end of the game. Starburst on the frog. Oh god, please don't kill him. 42. Okay, I don't know why that hits so weakly, but I'll take it. Heal. Dark Bomb. Oh god, this again. What? Wait. Dude, you countered my turn, and then what? Then, oh my god. So I ordered them to do the combo heal, then she killed him. It just threw that order out the window, and then she took another turn after that. That makes me so upset. She reduced the health of everyone to 1. Then I issued the order to combo heal. She cut in line, killed the frog. It just threw that order out the window and then just proceeded to just kill people over and over and over and over and over while they were at 1 hit point. Is this the point where you have to go grind off screen? How would grinding any amount of levels help protect me from she reduces your health to 1 then hits you? There's no amount of levels that would have helped with that. What you thinking, Muck? I'm thinking of uninstalling. This is not fun. And I have to redo the previous fight because you can't save between the fights. All right. I'm asking for spoilers. Is she the final fight of the game? No? Am I close to the final fight of the game? A few more bosses remain. You're in the final quarter. An emulator really helps. How would an emulator... This is an honest question. I'm not being sassy right now. How would an emulator help? I've never used an emulator before. Like, I'm aware of them. I know what they are. But I've never used one. Don't attack the arms. I literally never hit the arms, Renan. In that entire fight, I never hit the arms. I was only attacking the face. Emulator, you can save more often. You can turbo it. Okay. Don't usually see him use that attack twice in a row. Maybe anticipatory heal that you set up. I mean, to do an anticipatory heal, because I don't know where she is in the queue. I don't have a yellow bar under her. So basically, I think what I would need to do is literally never use the frog's turn unless I need to do like an AoE heal or something so that I have him ready to go for the AoE heal. Ayla moves fast, you could use an item heal. The problem is she reduces everyone's health to 1, and then she blasts someone at random after that, or an AoE. An item heal only heals 1 target, so it could be the wrong target, or she could just hit everybody after. Everyone heal themselves? Possibly, but then, you know, if she cuts in line again, slowest member dies, which is exactly what happened last time. If we use everyone heals themselves strat, then I still would have wiped. Because you gotta think that last time, she brought everyone to 1, and then before anyone had another turn, she killed the frog. And the frog was the AoE healer, so then everybody else died after. So the strategy of everyone heal themselves would have still gotten me killed in that same situation. Ayla and Ether. Surprised that attack only did 10 damage since he just released the energy. Previously, that's when he would open up for being vulnerable. Are we under-leveled and geared? Possibly. I just... Hold on, I can't even talk to you because he keeps taking extra turns. Possibly. There's no quest log in this story. There's no map markers of where to go, so I'm just wandering around. I ended up here. And I very, very much could be somewhere else. People say you can charm an item called Prism Dress from the Queen. Apparently it helps, and you may already have one. How would I possibly know to use that one specific move on that one specific target? To steal a rare item. I could try it, but it's not going to let me equip it in combat. It would just have it for after the fight. A mega elixir. What's the counterattack? I think the counterattack only triggers if you hit the hand when it's like this. And I was targeting the head the entire time previously, so there were no counterattacks. The very first time I tried fighting her, I triggered a counterattack. The second time, I had none. Zero damage. Alright, so now we just wait for that. Two damage? Okay, so once again... So when he releases the burst energy, it's not... He doesn't immediately go back to being fragile. It, like, takes a few seconds. Now he's taking damage again. Alright, I'm not fighting this guy again. I am going to do my very best. But if I die to that next boss again, and then it throws me back to before this guy, I think that's it, guys. I think I'm tapped. I think I'm tapped out. So everything's on the line right now. That's the 3rd or 4th time I've killed that guy. Because it keeps putting me back to before that. Unskippable cutscene. If you got backup game ready, I think the backup would be we turn on Josh Strife's video on Chrono Trigger and see what his experience was with it. This tapped you and Elder didn't. What do you mean Elder? Check your items. I can't. It's 2 bosses back to back with no out of combat time in between. I cannot heal. I cannot rest. I cannot drink ethers. I can't change equipment. I can't do anything. It's just 2 fights back to back, and if you die on either, you have to redo both. Elden Ring. Oh, Elden Ring. No, Elden Ring was great. Here's the thing. I do not mind dying on a boss over and over and over because of skill issue, and I have to get good. I've enjoyed many Souls-likes. That's not a problem with me. The problem, you know the saying, games don't cause people to be violent, lag does? It's kind of like that. When something outside of your control happens, there's nothing you can do about it, and that's what's killing you. That's when the frustration occurs. For example, boss reduces your hit points to 1 before you get another turn, she kills you. That's outside of your control. Or, the boss cuts in line while you're navigating the menus. That's outside of your control, you know? Like, we've got the game on very slow combat, we've got weight turned on, and I can't seem to do anything about the bosses constantly cutting in line. So, you know, despite the fact that Ayla's fast enough, she should be taking 3 turns for everyone else's 1, we can't have her do that because of the menu thing. So, no, Elden Ring, I did not have any, like, rage issues with compared to this. Alright, just aiming everything at her face, and Frog is only healing. Try thinking of it like a puzzle. You have to figure out what skills to use and when to solve it. Totally okay with that, Sav Master. If, whenever I make a mistake on the puzzle, I don't have to replay 20 minutes worth. Because anytime I make a mistake on her and I'm trying to figure out what she can do, I have to I'm put back before the previous boss fight, and I have to redo that one also. So, and also I wish the combat, like, I wish it was turn-based and the animations were 3 times faster. And then I could really, really, you know, enjoy trying to, you know, figure it out and take everything apart. KCD2 review embargo is up. I already know I'm playing it. I'm not going to be watching reviews. It'll just spoil me. Slurp Kiss. Dark Bomb face. And when she did the MP steal that other time, she stole like 30. So I wonder if I need to make sure the frog stays well above 30. Slurp Kiss, Dark Bomb. She cut in line again. She got an extra turn while I was in menu navigating. Okay, so everyone's at 1. I immediately navigated down to items, and he's already dead. She reduced everyone's health to 1, killed someone before I got a move. Where's the big potion? Okay, so she stole all MP from Frog. So use a big ether on him. Use Cure on her. And then I'll have her try to revive the other guy. That's why I'm not sure leaving the hands alive is a good idea. When I hit the hands, they take like 5 damage, and they sometimes counter. On my first attempt, when I kind of probed the defenses and I hit each of the things, it very much seemed like I was supposed to avoid the hands. Is it both hands? I believe it's whenever the hand is raised up, but the hands... Here, hold on. Alright, I'm gonna hit the hand on the left for the first time. Let me see. 3 damage. Yeah. Oh, and, she's now at 1 hit point. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Don't kill him. I need him to take a turn. Mid-ether. We've used half of our total revives for this run in this fight. I'm waiting on the frog to be able to go. God damn it. Now we're in a revive loop. Okay. All right. That's it. That's it. I can't do that again. That is it. All right. I'm done. I am sorry to those who are really invested in this game and those who are really nostalgic about it and those who are really excited about it. I know there's a few of you, but I'm done. I'm done. Usually when I finish a game, I think I just got a cat hair in my mouth front that's in the air. Usually when I finish a game, I do kind of like a review thing at the end of it. I am going to do that now, and we're going to go over like how it was. After which, I think I might watch Josh Strife Hayes' video where he talks about Chrono Trigger and see what his experience was with it. All right, so Chrono Trigger. Okay, so first off, you know, it's an old game. It's worth saying that it came out, I believe, in 1995. So it is an older game. That should absolutely be, you know, something to be considered here. First thing we've got to talk about is absolutely like the storytelling. For me, it was very similar to like Pokemon, you know? You go around, you don't have a quest log, the map doesn't tell you where to go, you just wander around and try to figure things out. It's the kind of game where you probably take notes on a sheet of paper that's next to you the whole time. And I think that's totally fine. You know, not all games need, you know, quest helpers or quest logs, things like that. I will say a few times it led me into some situations where, you know, I was just wandering around and everyone's like, why are you at the black ship? You're not supposed to be here until you got another 30 levels. I'm like, I don't know. I just found the black ship. I just found it. You know, stuff like that. People like, oh, I really wish you would do the side quests for the different people because they're really big. I'm like, I haven't found any of those. I don't know where they are. I didn't know they existed. So, you know, I had people that were like disappointed because I was like, I didn't do the quest for the robot, or I didn't do the quest for Marley, or didn't do the quest for the frog, or whatever. And I'm just like, I never found any of these. Can I speak freely at this point? Go ahead. Go ahead. I mean, yeah. So I never, you know, why didn't you do side stuff? I did what I found. Why did you rush to end? I didn't know it was the end. I just stumbled into it. You know, I didn't realize. Things like that. So that was very much an issue. Another thing in storytelling is it only happened once, but false sense of choice. There was a moment where the game was like, oh, hey, Chrono, we should help this person. What do you say? And it goes, yes or no. I said no. And then she's like, oh, come on, you. And then he's like, da, 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 I'm going to do it. And then you hitting no there had no effect on the game at all. So they should have just removed that. It shouldn't have been there at all. There should not have been like an illusion of choice there. It should have just said, you're doing this. That's the story. You could have aborted the Black Omen. Aborted it? That's a choice of words. Like most Square games, once you get to the airship, it's time to hunt down all the side content. I don't know what you're talking about. I guess I haven't played other Square games. What game like this would be easier for you with chat hidden, like how Preach does with some games? I considered it, but again, my enjoyment of the game was descending, and my enjoyment of talking to chat is always high, and I didn't want to turn like chat into emote-only mode just to play the game, because that would have lowered my enjoyment even more. But it is true. we gotta touch on this. Chrono Trigger community, worst with spoilers I've seen in nearly 7 years streaming. And we played 110 games last year. Absolutely, hands down, it's not even close. I will say, hold on a sec. We're gonna open Paint here. Like if we've got a graph here, okay, and it's just like here, like game and spoilers. It would be like, let me get this here. It's like, here's like some games, here's some other games. Black Myth Wukong was here. That was a new all-time high. And then it's like Chrono Trigger. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Yeah, so that was very much a thing. We saw you going to the final dungeon without doing endgame stuff, and everyone panicked to try and save you. I feel like you shouldn't have to do that. Like, if the game lets me just accidentally wander to the endgame dungeon, I don't know. I feel like that's now again, 1995, but I feel like that's a game design issue. Yeah. And as far as like skip, again, I was never intentionally skipping side stuff. I never found it. I never found any of the side content. Personally, I'm definitely in the Chrono Trigger fan community, but I also know the rules, so I won't say anything. No, I appreciate that. Let's say 12k is only 12 attack for Megas. Let's see, she has 12k health. Yeah, Megas was doing 1k a shot. The problem was when, again, we saw it there on my last attempt. Reduced everyone's health to 1, then she did attacks on people before I got another turn. There's literally nothing I could do there. Like, even if I was like 10 times my current level, if she reduces everyone's health to 1, and then she takes another turn before I go, she kills people. There's literally nothing I could do about that. The Black Omen was the final dungeon? No, I don't know if it was or not. A lot of people in chat said that I was in like the last quarter of the game, not the final boss, so I'm not sure what was left. That was the hardest part for those of us who played it, having to hold our horse to let you figure out whether you needed help first. Well, okay. Next thing is absolutely the combat. I've played a lot of RPGs, okay? I've played turn-based, I've played real-time. This was an abortion of both. This is absolutely the worst combat system I've ever experienced, and I would actively avoid playing more games with this combat system. I need to remember what it's called so that I can avoid it in the future. So the fact that even when I put it on very slow turns and I put it on wait, which, dude, everybody in chat, why don't you put it on wait if you hate it so much? And I'm like, it's on wait! Dude, I said that so many times. Even when it's on wait, it was still, it's like, when it's Frog's turn, you're navigating from attack down to tech, boss takes a turn. Or what is it, Marley? Not Marley, sorry. I had Ayla, her speed was so high that she could go 3 times for everybody else's 1, but we could not take advantage of that if it was on anything except auto. Also, I just noticed that the frog right here is checking out her butt. That's interesting. I guess he did used to be a man. All right, so let's see. What was it? Storytelling was kind of fun, but sorry, not fun. It was kind of fun, but it was old school. I definitely missed. Like, I was just following the grains of the story. I somehow missed. When was I supposed to rescue Chrono? Someone tell me. When was I supposed to? Because everyone, not everyone, a few people were like, "Oh, you skipped rescuing Chrono," and I'm like, "Not on purpose. I just found this. I wasn't trying to skip rescuing Chrono." Active time battle 2.0. Okay. You can go fight Lavos anytime, but if you go through the Black Omen to fight him, I think it's an easier fight. It does allow you to vary the game speed in addition to wait or no wait. You could have done the side quest except for that one and just gone to 1999 AD and just gone Lavos, my quarrel is with you. Interesting. Yeah, at the beginning of the game, the old man, at the end of time, he goes, that portal leads to the big battle. And I tried to interact with that portal, and the old man goes like, hey, come here. And I talked to him, and he had nothing to say. And I went back to the portal, and he's like, hey, come here. So I'm like, okay, I can't go through this. This is just here for decoration. Like, the times I tried to go through that portal, he prevented me and had nothing to say. So I was like, okay, it's just here for decor. Maybe it'll be like the end of the game or something. So to say that you can go through it to fight Lavos at any time is wrong, because the times I tried it, it didn't let me go through the portal, and I assumed it was just like a doodad. I assumed it wasn't actually like a real portal. So you cannot go through there at any time, just like how resume does not load the most recent save, and just like how wait does not actually stop combat. Magus tells you go to the end of time to rescue Chrono, and then you went exploring and found the Black Omen. When did Magus say that? Yeah, I missed that entirely. If he said that while I was playing, I completely missed that. I remember going to get Magus, and I had the option to fight him, and I said no when he joined the party, and chat cheered, and they were like, yeah, you hit the right button. I'm like, okay, so he's a party member now. I don't remember him mentioning Chrono. Chrono, you have to go to the fair, win a bunch of games, then get a doll of him. What? Then do stuff with the old man, gross, who gives you a way to go to the moment he died and replace him with the doll. Okay. My memories of the SNES emulator ROM with the wait arrive worked then. It sounds like the Steam version messed it up. I don't know. I went into those boss fights with 99 high potions, high ether elixir. It was when you were leaving the cape, I think. All right, let's see. Do I have anything else to say? Let's see. Resume does not load most recent save. Wait does not wait. What was the other stuff? I think that's most of it. Okay. I want to see what I know I missed 1,000 things. The end result, as my experience, was extremely frustrating. Let me see. Josh Strife Chrono Trigger. Let me see what happened to him. 1 hour video. I mean, we can skim. All right. Bosses have too much hit points? No. I don't mind the bosses having a lot of hit points if it wasn't for the fact that, as long as they don't like two-shot me. Like, if they like kill you in one shot, 1 or 2 shots, then it's ridiculous. But
Chrono Trigger, a Super Nintendo RPG released in 1995, considered by many to be one of the greatest video games of all time. Read any best RPG ever list and Chrono Trigger is always there, usually taking the top spot. So in this video, I'm going to replay a game considered one of the greatest video games of all time and find problems with it.
Dude, that
so
race was so stupid. That race with the motorcycles was so dumb. Like, the whole thing didn't matter. You could literally hit no buttons until the very end and then just boost past them at the finish line, because you never got more than 5 feet apart from each other.
Because we're about to go on a time travel
and it made you do it every time you traveled down that road.
From prehistory to the end of time itself. Created by a dream team of RPG experts, including the creators of Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, the original artist from Dragon Ball, and musicians still working on major RPGs to this day, Chrono Trigger features mechanics way ahead of its time. Mechanics people still rave about today. You know the old joke about how JRPGs start with you saving a cat and end with you killing God? Chrono Trigger is partly responsible for that saying. People praised Zelda Breath of the Wild for its open-world nature and the ability to fight Ganon whenever you felt ready. Well, Chrono Trigger not only let you take on the final boss whenever you like, but also has 14 different endings depending on when and how you do this. Remember the buggy in the airship from Final Fantasy VII, which opened up the overworld and let you explore hidden continents? Well, Chrono Trigger had that mechanic 2 years earlier. The time travel from Ocarina of Time, having 2 different versions of the overworld. How about 6 different time periods of the same world, from prehistory to the far future? Even Dark Souls and Elden Ring followed in Chrono Trigger's footsteps with hidden side quests for each playable character unlocking their ultimate weapons, completely missable areas, and the ability to kill vital NPCs and make your playthrough harder. And while not the first game to have looping replayable game modes, Chrono Trigger did allow you to take earned power from one playthrough into the next, and was the first game to use the term New Game Plus. Add to all this a heartfelt story about our search for meaning, overcoming childhood flaws, the allure of unlimited power, and the destructive desire for vengeance. All held together with a battle system still to this day considered a gold standard in gaming, and you've got one hell
I cannot possibly fathom how this battle system is considered a gold standard.
of an RPG. But games have advanced a lot since 1995, and the nostalgia goggles are thick and heavily tinted. And while many people know Chrono Trigger from those best RPG ever lists, not that many people have actually finished the entire game. So are we just collectively agreeing something is good because other people have told us it's good? Maybe we need specific examples of why it does or does not hold up today. So I've gone back and replayed it all. Every ending, every secret character, every hidden side quest, and with that complete replay, we can now answer the question, Chrono Trigger, was it actually any good? As always, a massive thank you to the supporters on Patreon, Twitch, and YouTube whose support allows me to make long-form, in-depth videos like this. More information on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. Flashing light warning. Several of the high-level magical spells flash the screen with flickers of white light. I'll mention these before they happen. First off, a quick note on pixel and sprite graphics, and I touched on this phenomenon.
One sec, I'm gonna turn my fan on. I'm gonna get comfortable because we're gonna be here enjoying Josh's melodious voice for a little bit.
In the Castlevania video, but it's worth repeating. If you played Chrono Trigger as a kid, the gameplay on screen now probably looks sharper than you remember, and this is both a blessing and a curse. Chrono Trigger released in 1995 for the SNES, and so was played on CRT monitors. Now, with sprite and pixel art, a CRT monitor actually slightly diffuses each pixel, and the colors bleed together, giving a more blended, softer image. Here's an example with Dracula's face from Castlevania. Notice how on a modern monitor, the single red pixel of the eye is defined and harsh. It almost seems out of place, while on an old monitor, that red pixel would diffuse a red tint across its neighbors and so give a soft glow effect. The same is true with waterfalls. Here's an example from Mega Man, and with depth added through implied shadows. Here's some 80s dungeon crawler images on both CRT and LCD screens. The soft blend effect of a CRT monitor actually means your mind has to fill in the blanks, and this creates both gentler curves and greater depth. So if what I'm playing doesn't look quite like what you remember, that's why. So while Chrono Trigger released in 1995, it's been re-released multiple times on the PlayStation 1 in 1999, the Nintendo DS in 2008, for both iOS and Android in 2011, and on Steam in 2018, where it's still available. The latter releases even contain bonus content like extra dungeons and more side quests and fully animated transition sequences. It went on to see a sequel called Radical Dreamers in
Oh, so those animations that we saw were not in the earlier versions.
1996, which was a Japanese text-based game which ties into a side plot. And then Chrono Cross released on the PlayStation in 1999, which itself cannibalized much of Radical Dreamers and so became the only canon sequel. A third game named Chrono Break was rumored for a while but ultimately dropped in 2003. So for this review, I'm staying classic and we'll be playing the SNES version. First off, Chrono Trigger is far shorter than most people realize. I finished the complete main storyline and all 7 extra character stories in around 20 hours. The length of the game really comes from finding...
All right, real quick, hold on. How much time did I put into it? I played 15.6 hours.
All 14 additional endings, but it's entirely possible if you're only focusing on the main plot to finish Chrono Trigger in a long, focused weekend. So let's play. The Swinging Pendulum is an iconic opening and sets the theme of time, and the first choice we make is battle mode, active or wait, and I'll explain the differences when we look at combat later. Now we name the main character, and I'll be keeping all the names.
Please tell me the differences, Josh, as I didn't see them.
As suggested, but important to note, the main character is called Chrono, not Chrono. This isn't just because of the 5-letter naming limitation of the SNES, it's also because the story of Chrono Trigger isn't actually about Chrono as a character, it's about everyone else. And interesting fact, Chrono, just like Link from The Legend of Zelda, is a left-handed silent protagonist. In fact, his only dialogue is found in a hidden ending that I will show you later. Chrono's name is a reference to Kronos. Not Cronus, the youngest of the Titans in Greek mythology, but Cronus, the personification of time in pre-Socratic philosophy. So we open with Chrono oversleeping and his mum opening the curtains to a glorious sunny day. It's the year 1000 AD and the joyful ringing of Lean's bell can be heard, and they're celebrating with the Millennial Fair. Gameplay is top-down with 8-way movement, hold A to run, and in a lovely bit of attention to detail, you can just shut the curtains again. In fact, attention to small details like this is something we'll see Chrono Trigger do a lot. Chrono is told his inventor friend Luca is at the fair, and so we leave the house and set off, and this puts us in the overworld. Now, unlike most RPGs, you cannot get into random encounters or battles while in the overworld. This is strictly for travel. Chrono Trigger's approach to combat is actually somewhat novel in the RPG sense, as you never have to grind. The entire journey is perfectly paced that you will always be the right level for whatever challenge the story naturally takes you.
How many times do people in chat be like, oh, why don't you leave where you're at and go grind levels? You're not the right level for this. This is bull crap.
The world map is somewhat open and doesn't stop you exploring around. You've got Xenon Bridge to the south. You can either cross it in the overworld or interact with it to enter it as a location and explore around. And you can talk to every NPC, and they've always got short but useful hints about...
I was hitting for thousands when I got to the Queen Bee. Oh, you need to go get XP.
You should be heading. There's even the Royal Forest to the north full of enemies, and even though you're not meant to be here yet, the game won't stop you going here. There's a great deal of early game freedom. While on the world map, you can press select to bring up an overview map, which shows there are a lot of disconnected
I've never seen the screen. I'll be honest, I don't know, like, the buttons on the controller for start and select, I don't know what those are on keyboard. All the other keys I found, those, I don't know.
That we'll reach later. And there's already some lovely color palette design going on. Houses you can interact with are green, and ones you cannot are blue. This is just a small touch, but it helps the player navigate. We head north to the Millennial Fair and talk to everyone, and this is essentially your safe trading zone. You can see the central feature of Lean's bell hanging proudly, so I walk around and then browse the menus in-game, and they're super simple with...
I thought you'd open this chest with a pendant, especially before the flying ship. I did not know the flying ship was a point of no return. I was just wondering.
Surprisingly deep customization options, including changing the background color or text display speed while in battle. Nothing groundbreaking, just a perfectly fine system. We play some of the fair games, and this bored kid says, so what if we won a war against a wizard hundreds of years ago? And this is something I really like. The history of the world is given to you through NPCs just commenting on how they feel about the current situation, and it feels natural. As we're exploring, we bump into this running girl, and as we do, she drops something, and what you do in this moment will matter. So let's just talk about this design. When you bump into the girl, she drops an object, and this draws your attention. Your eyes will go here, and as a player, you'll think, oh, that's different. And Chrono Trigger does this a lot. Whenever your attention is drawn to something graphical or mechanical, even if only for a moment, that thing matters and will be relevant later. And it's often very subtle. You might not even realize that it caught your attention until it gets brought up later and you distinctly remember it. So being a good person, I grab the pendant and give it back to her, and she introduces herself as Marl and asks to join us exploring the fair. And we don't know anything about her, but this NPC tells us the king is rather upset that his tomboy daughter keeps running off, and then adds in, he'd like to see how wild she really is. And while the game is rated kids to adults, there are some risque comments sprinkled throughout. While in a party, your companions will trail behind you, but they're purely visual and won't block you from moving. Now, while at the fair, you've got a few distractions. This young girl has lost her cat, so we find the cat and lead it back to her. Important mechanical note, unlike your companions, NPCs will block you from...
I never saw this. I never saw the cat quest.
Moving. And this is the very first floor I spot. If you stand still, sometimes an NPC will walk onto you, and when this happens, you will be stuck and unable to move until they walk off you. We join in this drink guzzling contest, just mash A to drink a lot, and I lose, and then we learn about a war against an evil magician called Magus 400 years ago, and then I eat this lunch I find lying on a table. In the corner of the fair, you can take on Gatto, a singing robot and combat tutorial. He has metal joints, and if we beat him up, we can earn 15 silver points. Now, I'll dive into combat a bit later on, but as an overview, combat doesn't enter an instanced area or graphically unique environment like Final Fantasy VII. Instead, it happens directly within the game on the screen you currently are. With the fair explored, Marl demands some candy because she is a demanding kind of girl used to getting her own way, and we finally meet inventor Luca and her dad Tobin, and they've created the main attraction of the fair, a teleporting machine. So we give it a go. Standing on the left plate, we are teleported over to the right, and Luca is super relieved that it works. Now, wanting to join in the fun, Marl asks for a turn. However, during the teleportation process, Marl's pendant begins to interfere with it, some sort of rift is opened, and Marl is thrown through. Tabin panics, and Luca is calm and collected, and this matters because it's an early sign of how memorable and focused the character personalities are. Chrono Trigger has a party size of 3, with 7 total playable characters, and each character has a very specific upbringing, desire, and most importantly, flaw. And it's these flaws which make them memorable. Perfect characters are dull, but flawed characters are relatable. And what Chrono Trigger does exceptionally well is allow the characters to maintain
Chrono's flaw that he was dead.
Personal goals while being part of the team, and lets you as a player understand their goals and then understand where their flaws come from in relation to their goals. Marl, the girl we met in the market, is energetic, arrogant, and self-assured, but she's also far too demanding and often naive. Luca is an inventor, and she understands machines and systems, but she struggles to connect with people or emotions. And as we meet the rest of the cast, you'll see a flaw in everyone, and it's the character journey in spite of the flaws which is engaging to watch. As we meet more characters, we'll discuss their flaws, their desires, and their story arcs. That is, every character except Chrono. Chrono has no flaws because Chrono has no backstory and no defined future. Chrono has no opinions because he has no dialogue. Unlike, say, Cloud Strife from Final
Yeah, he's so boring.
Fantasy VII, who has a defined backstory.
I even said, like, I don't know, like 5 or 10 hours of the game, I was like, oh my god, I wish I could have a party without Chrono in it. And then when he died, I was like, oh sweet. Finally, the dream team.
Story, a specific personality all of his own, and a reason to want to change the world the game is set in, Chrono actually exists solely as a self-insert for the player. Chrono Trigger is the story of everyone else. Chrono himself, and by extension you, are simply along for the ride, because you as a player feel the desire to help the other characters to be the good guy. Chrono is simply a conduit for you to interact with the other characters as they interact with the world and their place in it. After the portal incident, Luca is sure that she recognizes Marl, but not sure where from, and while she's thinking, we grab the pendant and demand Luca activate the machine again. Wherever Marl is, we'll recreate the portal incident and go and rescue her. So the machine on, portal open, and we're treated to these trippy visuals as we are.
No, we did not demand she turn on the machine again to try again. Her and her father bullied me into it while I was saying no, 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 and then they threw me through the portal. I didn't
thrown through
demand
time
that.
and space before arriving in a forest and being attacked by monsters. So let's talk about the combat. Chrono Trigger's combat takes place on the same map. There are no random encounters. You'll often see the enemy sprites just hanging out, and when you bump into them, the fight begins. Sometimes the enemies will be hiding off screen and jump in when you trigger them, but this still isn't random because you can often predict where encounters will start by the big open spaces, or if you play before, the encounter is always in the same space. When a fight starts, your party will run to preset positions and remain there. The enemies, however, can move around. During combat, these 3 bars count down to where characters go, much like the active time battle system in the Final Fantasy games, and the enemy have the same countdown, but you can't see those bars. When it's your go, you can choose a basic attack, a technical ability, or use an item. But remember that choice at the start, active battle or wait. Surely that means when your move timer is full, the game will wait for you to make a choice. Well, not quite. If you select wait mode, the game will only freeze the enemy timer and stop them moving when you are in the technical menu or the item menu. If you're not in either of these 2 menus, the game actually continues as normal. And at first, this seems counterintuitive to what wait mode should be, but it's actually needed because of how double and triple technical abilities work. Your basic attack just hits the enemy with your weapon, and you can hit any enemy anywhere on the screen, even if you have a melee weapon. There are no environmental obstructions. But it's the technical menu where the game really shines. The tech menu also contains magic, but for now we'll focus on tech skills. A tech attack uses up a certain amount of MP or mana and always offers both more damage and more utility than your basic attack. Let's take Chrono's.
No, not always. There were many times that I would use MP and do a technical attack, and it would do less damage than my normal attack.
First technical attack, Cyclone. When you select it, you'll now select an enemy, and the enemy you're selecting is shown by the solid finger icon. But you'll notice there are other flashing finger icons on other enemies. This is because Cyclone doesn't just hit one enemy, it hits in a circular area centered on an enemy of your choice. And those flashing icons are showing what falls within the circle if you target a specific enemy as the center. Technical attacks can be single target, or a circle centered on a specific enemy, sometimes a circle centered on the
Enemies can have resistances? Of course. But what I'm saying is that statement is wrong, saying that techniques always do more damage. That's just not correct.
Character, a horizontal line across the screen, a straight line from your character outwards, or every enemy on the screen. And this is where the enemy's moving matters. If you're in battle and your timer is ready, you don't need to perform an attack or a technical ability instantly. Sometimes it's tactical to wait and see if the enemy sprites all move into a better position. So then a technical can hit more of them. This is why even on wait mode, the game only waits when you're in the tech or item menu. But the true brilliance of Chrono Trigger's combat system lies in how you can combine technicals from multiple characters into double or triple attacks. For example, Chrono has Cyclone, a damaging circular spin, and Marl knows Aura, a single target heal. But if you wait for both character time bars to fill up and be ready, the tech menu of either of those characters will now have a double tech section containing Aura Whirl, which combines their turns and techs into a party-wide heal. Using a double tech counts as both characters' turns and will take MP from both characters equal to whatever base tech they are using for the combination. And late in the game with specific party builds, you unlock triple techs which do the most damage by a substantial margin. Magic, which is something you unlock later, is also found within the tech menu and counts as a tech attack, but usually contains added elemental damage, which each enemy in the game is either weak to, taking double damage, indifferent to, or resistant to and heals from. Magic itself is extremely simple, and each elemental attack comes in just 2 versions, 1 and 2, Lightning 1 and Lightning 2, Ice 1 and Ice 2. Version 1 of any magic is single target, and version 2 is always multi-target, and you unlock version 2 at higher levels. This is nothing complicated. Now, each character within Chrono Trigger is attuned to a single magical element, and each element has utility in specific battles. We'll see this later. When you finish a battle, you gain both experience, which increases your overall level, and tech points. These points are added up to unlocking the next technical attack or magic spell, and you can see your next tech and how many points you are from it in the tech menu of any character. Combining both tech and magic under the blanket term tech, each individual character will learn 8 individual technical attacks, and of the 7 playable characters, 6 of them have double techs which combine.
Hold on a sec. The Chrono let's see, I got to Frenzy. After that he learns Luminaire, attacks all enemies with Holy Light. Marl after, let's see, I think we got to Haste, she gets Arise, she gets, Marl's last skill is Revive and fully heal an ally. Luca, so Marl never earns an AoE heal on her own. So the frog gets an AoE heal without having to do a combo. Marl never gets an AoE heal unless she's comboing, but she does get a revive someone with full health. Luca, damage, protect. Okay.
Which combine with each other. The 7th is a solo-focused character who's not really a team player. Those 6 characters have 3 double techs with...
Oh my god.
Every other character for a total of 45 double techs in the game, and then there are 10 possible triple techs while Chrono is in the party, and 5 triple techs when he's not. Because while Chrono is the player's self-insert, he's not actually the protagonist of the story. This is a substantial amount of tech attacks, giving a huge amount of variety, while also being a realistic amount that a player could legitimately experience. It's not overwhelming. This double and triple tech system doesn't just apply to the player either, enemies can use it too, and often bosses or group battles will see you on the receiving end of powerful double or triple attacks, meaning taking out key enemies in fights isn't just about killing the healer, it's often about removing the linchpin of a technical ability. The tech system also means you don't want to take your 3 individual strongest characters, you want to take a team with utility. And often, the whole ends up greater than the sum of its parts. Indeed, taking the character with no dual techs despite their individual strength is often a hindrance to your overall party's power. Some enemies in battle have retaliation mechanics. They will instantly hit you back out of sequence as soon as they are damaged. And later in the game, you can get an accessory that lets you do the same. And this means some enemies you are discouraged from attacking until you can kill them in one hit. Or you're cautious about using multi-target attacks because it's very easy to accidentally chain yourself into taking multiple retaliation damage attacks and not getting a chance to heal in between. I've always said that depth is better than complexity. Anyone can make something complicated, just add way too many variables and overwhelm the player, but it takes a lot of skill to create something simple and understandable with depth. And all this means combat encounters in Chrono Trigger are closer to puzzles than battles, with regular enemies being solved by just attacking and not wasting your MP, and elites and bosses needing...
Yeah, and again, I got no problem with the puzzle thing. The problem is when you fail on the puzzle and do something wrong, and then you have to replay 20 minutes. That's where I had an issue. Like, both because of the save points and also because of the speed of combat. If you want to turn up combat speed, you have to use auto, because that is both the speed up button and the automatic combat button.
More refined tactical approach of specific techs. Finding a team you like in Chrono Trigger is all about finding the double and triple techs that you feel comfortable with. It's about choice and preference, and it's this choice that ties into one of the game's greatest strengths. It's pacing. You can beat the game with almost any party without a guide. Now, certain bosses will of course encourage you to use certain strategies, and you're always rewarded for having a healer, but you don't need a wiki open to beat this game. And perhaps the greatest difference between Chrono Trigger and almost any other RPG is how you don't need to grind in Chrono Trigger at all. If you just follow the main storyline and every fight that you will naturally
Nope. It's not. It's for the first half of the game. I had so many people in chat that were bragging about how in this game you don't have to grind. You don't have to grind. It's just you'll naturally be the right level at the right time. The second half of the time I was playing, Muck, why are you here? This is way too high a level. You need to go grind some levels. That's all I was hearing for the last like 9 hours.
Trigger as you follow it, you'll be perfectly leveled for every boss as you encounter them. Chrono Trigger's pacing plays more like a pure story game. In fact, in the 20 hours it took me to beat the game, only about 20 minutes was spent grinding, and that was just to gain money to afford copies of a special armor which would make a secret boss easier. You can also run away from non-boss fights by holding both shoulder buttons, but I never had to use this feature at all. The pacing is just so smooth. The early to mid...
You can run away from boss fights. What the... Yeah, that would have been good to know. I was just using Alt F4 to run away from boss fights and then reloading the game. Did you say non-boss? Did you say non-bosses?
And combat and boss fights by holding both. Gain money to afford copies of a special armor, which would make a secret boss easier. You can also run away from non-boss fights by holding both shoulder buttons, but I never had to use this feature at all. The pacing is just so smooth. The early to mid-game combat is all about damage and healing, and the late-game pushes into status effects like sleep, poison, confusion, or chaos. And passing these late-game fights is about equipping the armors or using the spells designed to counter these effects. You need a party with the correct spells to weaken the enemy for basic attacks to do much, and then you've got a few gimmick fights where you attack the scenery instead of the boss, but overall, the combat system is super easy to grasp, with the double and triple tech combinations giving it a surprising amount of depth. Combine this with exceptional pacing, every fight feels like progress through a story, not simply increasing a number. But what about the characters you don't include in your team who aren't getting experience? Well, they actually still do get experience and level at pace with you, even if they're not in the party. So when you swap out team members, you're not suddenly using a weaker team, you're just using a different, equally capable team, so you're never stuck just using the guys that you've power leveled. We battle through the forest and find a power glove in a chest, so let's have a quick look at...
I will say, I wish Octopath Traveler had that. When we played Octopath, having to go just like I had to grind hours of levels for people that weren't in my main party off stream because they fell like 30 levels behind.
At the equipment. Characters have 4 equipable item slots: weapon, helmet, body armor, and accessory, and of these, only the equipped weapon will have any in-game visual effect and only during combat, with swords having a different blade color and some weapons having a different shape, attack animation, or attack sound effect. Weapons increase your attack power, and each character can only use one specific type of weapon. You cannot equip another character's weapon. Even though 2 characters use swords, they both use different types of swords. Helmet and body armors increase your defense. Male characters can wear metal armor, and female characters can wear robes. And accessories increase most stats or have unique supporting effects like reducing the MP cost of techs, or increasing critical hit rate, or preventing certain status effects. And some accessories combine with certain weapons, but most can be equipped by anyone. This system again is focusing on depth over complexity. 4 slots is pretty easy to understand, but some armor has high base defense but no elemental resistance, while other armor has high elemental resistance and low base defense, or even absorption to a specific element, meaning you'll be healed from that damage and not harmed. This means while the main storyline can be completed by just focusing on really high defense, the optional hidden side bosses need more situational setups with elemental absorption or status resistance. In fact,
wait, hold on.
To a specific
Zodiac cape,
meaning you'll be healed from that damage and not harmed. This means while the main storyline can be completed by just focusing on really high...
I had times where I did an AoE and it healed the enemy, and I was like, oh, okay, so I should not use shadow magic against this. I never had a time where enemies AoE'd my team and one of my team members got healed.
In defense, the optional hidden side bosses need more situational setups with elemental absorption or status resistance. In fact, finding specific secret helmets toward the end of the game and then using them in New Game Plus is the strategy to beat a boss that you're not meant to be able to beat and unlock a hidden ending. We fight through this canyon back to the overworld and it is dark. It's the same landmass but clearly a different time period. You'll notice the little box in the corner simply shows a question mark, and these update in every time period when you learn where you actually are by talking to an NPC. So we ask around the local village about the Millennial Fair and we're told, why would we celebrate the Millennium? It's the year 600 AD. And then another NPC asks if we're going to fight Magus and his monster army. So now we know where we are and what's going on. I swing by a shop and browse the weapons and here's another issue. The shop layout is mostly fine. I like how when you scroll to an item it shows which character can use it by having their avatar do a little animation. However, here's the issue. You can see a character's current attack and defense displayed under them in white. If a shop item is worse than your current equipment but you can equip it, that number will be grayed out, showing there's no point buying it. But if it's a better item than your current equipment, the number will be shown in bright blue. But there is no way to see what your current number is compared to the blue while it's showing the blue number. So if it shows blue 100, you don't know if you're going from 50 to 100 or 99 to 100.
Another thing that was annoying is this screen is pretty good. You didn't have access to this screen when you were outside of the shop. So if you weren't at the shop and you got an item and you wanted to see who it was an upgrade for, you couldn't get to this nice screen where it compares it instantly to your entire team. You had to find a shop or just compare it one by one to every person.
100. You can't see at a glance. The only way to see is to select a different item that character can't use and just remember the base number again. This is, however, a very minor shop.
If spoilers would have been allowed, you could have equipped armor that absorbs water elements on that boss you were fighting to absorb the AoE attack. One, I had no way of knowing that AoE attack was water. Two, I had no way of knowing that it could be absorbed by that armor. Three, I didn't know that armor existed. That would have been really far into basically just looking up a guide territory.
UI issue, not a gameplay issue. Local chatter tells us that the missing Queen Lean has been found in the mountains that we've just come from, and if we wander south, Xenon Bridge is destroyed in this time period, and the local soldiers are holding fast against Magus's monster army. They're wishing that Sir Cyrus, a renowned knight, was with them. This is a lovely way of hemming the player into a smaller, more focused world using an in-universe story beat, not just an invisible wall. In the local bar, we meet this wandering adventurer, a guy called Toma. He will be relevant later, and he tells us that the last he heard, the kidnapped queen was spotted in the cathedral to the west, but it's okay, she was actually found in the mountains to the east where we came from. Having a sneaking suspicion that the person they rescued from the forest might not be the actual queen, we fight through the forest toward the royal castle. And while here we see a bush rustling, so we investigate and get an item from it. But then there's another rustling bush, and I think, ooh, another item. But nope, this one is enemies, which is a great early way to tell players, investigate everything, but be prepared to find risk and reward in equal measure. This route is blocked off by a mysterious box with an ancient sigil on it. This will matter, remember this. Arrive at the castle and these soldiers rush us, but the queen arrives and says, we are...
Yeah, I did... after we finally got the ability to open those boxes, we did go back and open a couple, but I couldn't find all the ones that I had found over the course of the game.
Her friend. In fact, we are the guy who rescued her. The king even thanks us for finding the...
If you bring up the menu, you can access equipment to put on, take off without having to go to a merchant. Right, but I'm saying that very nice screen that shows the comparison of the equipment to your entire team all at once was only at the merchant window. Another thing that was kind of annoying is, like, if you were at the merchant window and you hit sell and you went, like, down, 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 okay, sell the 10th item, and then it would go back to the sell screen at the top. So if you wanted to sell your 10th, 11th, and 12th item on the list, you'd have to go down, 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 sell. Down, 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 sell. It was like using a rotary phone. So that was another little irritation.
Queen, but then confides in us that he's still a bit concerned because the queen doesn't seem like herself. She doesn't have her favourite coral hairpin, and she never loses that. So we visit the queen in her chambers, and it's not Queen Lean, it's Marl from our time. She just looks exactly like the queen from 600 AD. But while we're talking, she suddenly screams and then ceases to exist. Now, there's no way that we're going to be able to explain this to the king, so we run, and on the way back we bump into Luca, who's followed us through the portal. Luca then explains her theory and knows where she recognises Marl from. Marl's real name is Nadia, and she's the current princess in our time. According to the history books, in 600 AD, Queen Lean was indeed kidnapped, but then she was saved. However, in this timeline, they saved Marl, meaning the real queen is still kidnapped, which has changed history. And with the real Queen Lean still missing, Marl was never actually born. This is shown by a nice family timeline visual. This means we need to go and save the real Queen Lean to fix the timeline and restore Marl's existence. Our only clue from the wandering adventurer Toma is the abbey to the west. So Luca joins us and we set off. Now Luca in the party brings an exciting new mechanic. We can now see the enemy's health. And this is thanks to the accessory Sight Scope that Luca comes equipped with. Now there aren't many RPGs where seeing an enemy's current or total health...
Which was nice, except it didn't work on many bosses. So it was pointless half the time. Also, taking up an accessory slot for that is pretty major.
It's a tactical decision you need to make, but Chrono Trigger forces you to make that choice between information or using the accessory slot for, say, a power-increasing item. Now, at first, this lack of standard RPG information was jarring, but most normal enemies will go down in 2 or 3 hits, provided they're not resistant to physical damage, and bosses are more about finding the correct rhythm of damaging and healing. It's testament to the pacing of the fights that not knowing the enemy's health isn't actually a major downside, because even in group fights, you're never fighting more than 6 enemies at once, and keeping track of who you've attacked is actually quite easy because the fights are quite short. We've been playing the game for a while, so let's save. You can save the game at any point while on the overworld, and for saving in a gameplay area, you'll need to find these little sparkles. And when you save the game, the story chapter, in this case, The Queen is Gone, is shown to the top, and this will matter for finding hidden endings later. We have a nap in the inn to restore our health, and notice another lovely detail which really makes the world feel real beyond your characters. After you wake up in the inn, if you just wait around for a while, an NPC comes in and makes the beds. So we journey on. The cathedral to the west is full of creepy nuns.
I can't believe he in his playthrough, he waited just to see if that would happen.
And one of my favorite video game lines, all we want is world peace, or a piece of the world. We find the queen's hairpin on the floor in this cathedral, and the nuns transform into the monstrous Naga. And I love the inclusion of the hairpin because it's a trail of breadcrumbs which constantly reassures you, yes, you're on the right path, but through in-universe narrative connections. We fight through and unlock our first dual tech, Flame Toss, combining Luca's fire and Chrono's cyclone. And the fight ends, but Luca is ambushed by an unseen Naga, and just before she's killed, she's saved by a frog with a sword, who chastises Luca with "Lower thine guard, and thou art allowing the enemy in." And that is a great character intro. Instantly, we know this frog's personality. Good guy, fantasy knight. It seems the frog is also searching for the queen, so we agree to team up, although Luca isn't too happy about this. Playing the organ unlocks a secret door, and we discover that Frog is a fantastic fighter, stronger than both Chrono and Luca, and with a healing spell, fights are now a lot easier. But in a great touch, you can also access healing technical abilities from the menu outside of battle and use them to heal the party. So we fight into the evil cathedral and discover a shrine to the great and powerful Magus, leader of the monster army. Frog and Chrono's dual tech crosscut makes short work of anything.
I had to do 2 or 3 laps of this place to find, there was like 2 little buttons on the wall, and I thought they were just decorations. And I had to do a few laps this place before I found them.
And then this lovely bit, you walk down some stairs, but they flip into a ramp trap and you slide down, and then an enemy enters the screen by sliding down a banister into the fight. Now, you could have easily just had the enemy fade in or jump in from off screen with a general all-purpose animation, but no, they said, right, how can we make this enemy's entrance catered to this specific encounter? And then I realized they've done this a lot. Almost every encounter has enemies jump in from cliffs, roll down hills, or fly around trees, and the beauty of having the fights happen in the same screen that you're adventuring through means you can tailor each encounter to respect the visuals of that specific screen. And it makes every fight feel like it belongs there, in that exact place. It could only work in that place, which again makes you feel like you're battling through a world, not just journeying through a world being interrupted by battles. Small touch again, if an enemy dies after you've targeted them with an attack, but before the attack has happened, you don't lose the attack, it just gets reassigned to another enemy. This can, however, be an issue later when you want to target specific enemies with certain elements and absolutely avoid certain enemies with certain other elements, lest you accidentally heal the enemy. You'll notice an interesting mechanic here too. An enemy punches and then repositions Frog. Now, during fights, there's no way to reposition your characters manually, and normally this isn't a problem because regular attacks can be aimed anywhere, and dual and tri-techs don't care where your characters are. However, in very rare cases, techs which originate from a character in a straight line or an area around that character will be affected by you being repositioned. And it's a definite tactical limitation that only the...
That was something I touched on at one point, is the enemy, like, you couldn't choose where your people were standing, and the enemy would occasionally do, like, let's say an area of effect spell that would hit multiple members of your party, so they could punish you for being in bad spots, but you couldn't move your characters. So it's like, if your characters were like in a line and a laser comes through and pierces all of them, you're punished for standing in a line, but you couldn't not stand in a line because you had no control over that.
Enemy can reposition the player characters. Find the kidnapped lead and she knows Frog, but then the kidnapper appears. It's the Royal Chancellor, but they're actually a shape-shifting Yakra. And this boss has a triple hit attack, but it only uses it in retaliation to being hit. So you're encouraged to use your dual techs, because then you're doing big damage and only taking 1 retaliation instead of doing small damage and taking lots of retaliation. This combat principle will be essential when later bosses have massive retaliation damage. Kill the Yakra, save the Queen, and open this chest containing the actual real Chancellor. But interesting note, you can just not open this chest and change the future in a small but tragic way. The Chancellor says they must create a criminal justice system to deal with these kind of things in the future, and this will come back to haunt us pretty soon, and the Frog, while thankful the Queen is safe, leaves, ashamed of his failure to protect her. Back in the Queen's room, Aunt Mal, or Princess Nadia, exists again, and she explains that she hides her royal heritage because she wants to adventure and explore, and people treat her differently when they know that she's royalty. Her only real desire is to be respected for what she achieves and not who she has been born as socially, especially when the royal family and advisors don't pay any attention to her as a person, just seeing her as a position of state. So we return to teleport back to our time by going back to the original portal. Mal makes sure to tell the current King and Queen to get on really well, otherwise she won't exist. The Frog makes one more appearance, wishing us well and hoping we meet again sometime, and then back at the time portal, Luca explains they're actually called gates and connect one specific moment and place in time to another, and she's managed to condense her teleport machine down and make a gate key which will let us activate them freely. Back in 1000 AD, Marl invites us to the castle to celebrate, but when we arrive, the current Chancellor is convinced that we have kidnapped the princess, and despite Marl's explanation and then screams of protest, she's completely ignored, which kind of justifies and explains her personality so far. And then we are put on trial for kidnapping the princess, and this scene is lovely. Also note the beautiful stained glass...
Lovely? No, dude, this scene was so stupid. But she's like, he didn't kidnap me, and they're just like, nope, you're under arrest. He didn't kidnap me. Death penalty. see.
In the background, because that will matter later. This trial is about establishing the character of Chrono as either a good or bad person, and then setting a sentence for the kidnapping of the princess. Now, the character of Chrono is judged on your past actions, mostly the order of the things you did in the Millennial Fair. Did you save the cat for the little girl? If yes, she'll come and vouch that you're a good person. Did you eat the old man's lunch? If yes, he'll come and vouch that you're not a good person.
I didn't see either of those options.
But most importantly, when you bumped into Marl, did you check on her or go and pick up the pendant first? This trial section is lovely because it really establishes that your actions, however minor you may feel they are, have weight within the game world, and your impact on other people is now coming back to help or hinder you. Many RPGs have the protagonists almost feel like post-human avatars, simply acting out an adventure with the world and the NPCs of the world, acting as a divorced backdrop, never having any real connection to your actions. But judging Chrono based on his treatment of the world and those in it this early on drives home the point of, hey, other people live here too. Your actions affect them, and they will come back to haunt you. No matter what you do here, the outcome is ultimately the same. If you've done everything right, you'll be sentenced to 3 days in jail. However, the Chancellor will arrive and override this choice and say that you're now being executed in 3 days. Unfortunately, the royal rules prevent Marl from appealing this, so we need to try and escape. There are 2 ways to escape jail. You can genuinely just sit there and do nothing for 3 in-game days, which takes about 3 real-world minutes, where Luca will bust in and save you. Or you can knock on the gate until an annoyed guard opens it to hit you, and then rush out while it's open, and then fight your way through the castle. And there are lots of small choices like this in the game. But for this playthrough, I'll be taking the intended complete path so I can see everything.
Again, really weird that you were in jail and you had your sword still.
New mechanic. These shield enemies are resistant to physical damage until they peek out, so you have to wait for them to look and then attack. Another example of how the battle system is about timing and tactics and less about brute force. Up the steps and along this bridge, and this is something I have to praise Chrono Trigger for. They managed to successfully replicate a lot of camera angles and perspectives using the same sprites and the same movement mechanics. You've got the top-down map for top-down general gameplay, but then forward-facing for time travel, horizontal for this bridge, and later sideways cinematic for a bike race or even climbing up a mountain, and then above the planet itself. Even this castle escape has you climbing up the outside of a building and sneaking through dimly lit corridors, using stealth to knock out this guard by sneaking up when they're not looking, but if you do get spotted, you just fight them normally, which is what stealth should be. We then save this guy called Fritz from the execution room, and he tells us they run a shop in town, come and see them for a reward.
The stealth thing was so weird because it was like you didn't get any XP. You got an item, like you'd get loot, but you wouldn't get XP, so it felt like you were punished for doing stealth well.
By now, Luca will have shown up to join you, and you'll find a document about a prototype dragon tank, which explains it's immune to fire and lightning damage, but the head is remarkably weak. This is another thing Chrono Trigger does often and very well. By reading notes or talking to NPCs, you'll gather mechanical information for upcoming bosses or puzzles. The game wants you to succeed, and it's
Mukluk dance in Mukluk bobble.
Hey, Kit Matt, thank you, appreciate that. Maybe Mud can win that last fight, but that wasn't the last fight, by using the right tactic and attack the boss in the right moment. The end boss fight, the problem was she would do a AoE that reduces everybody's health to 1, and then she was so fast that she would take another turn before it was my turn, and then she would kill people. That was the main issue.
Information lying around to support that success. Continue the escape and then meet the dragon tank. As the note said, it's immune to electrical damage, so normal attacks only, but the tank is made up of 3 parts: head, body, and wheels. The head heals the rest, so it has to die first. But now, more tactics. The wheels store energy, and if not dealt with, they will unleash that energy as a ramming attack. To disrupt the storage of energy, just attack the wheels after you've been told the wheels store energy. And when you win, there's a cool killing blow animation where Chrono jumps onto and destroys the tank. We continue the escape, and we're told to break through the guards, and this means run into them and push the NPCs back. And this is one of the few times in the game that you get the pushing past a crowd mechanic. We're cornered in the castle, and the Chancellor returns with guards, but Princess Nadia, who I'll just call Marl from now on, argues on our behalf again. Unfortunately, the Chancellor and her father, the King, both ignore her, so she decides to reject her royal life and escape with us. So we flee to the forest, pursued by guards, and eventually get trapped in this small clearing. The only way out is another time gate, so we dive in and we are thrown through into a rusted metal room with a sealed sigil door to the north, and outside, a desolate, destroyed, modern cityscape. Now, the time gate is still active in this room, so we could go back to our time, but...
Zil 2.0, I think you have wanted to start with the right hand, not the left. You painfully saw, but I haven't gotten to my replay. So on the first attempt I did on that boss, Dale, I hit the hand on our right, and it did like 5 damage. So I'm like, okay, that's not it. Then I hit the hand on the left, and I did like 5 damage, but got countered. And I'm like, okay. And then I hit the head, and I did 300. I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to hit the face. So I just stopped hitting the hands after that, other than when someone in chat challenged me to try again, and it was painful. Did you beat the game? No, I did not.
But the Chancellor will be waiting there to send us to jail, and then that's execution again. So this isn't ideal, but this place, wherever we are, is better than instant death. We explore the sci-fi domes dotted around the landscape and meet hungry, rag-wearing human survivors. Everyone is begging for food, and we're shown the Enertron, a health and mana refill station, but in a lovely thematic touch, the game reminds you that you are still hungry. So staying here with no food would also mean death. The people of the dome tell of another dome to the north with rumors of food, so with that as our only goal, we set off. Journeying through Lab 16 has us pass through broken down cars and traffic lights, and you've also got these fast-moving rat enemies which will steal tonics, your HP item, if they bump into you. Regular enemies now now also have healers within combat, shown by these plant things, and I like how the dragon boss introduced the player to the idea of enemies heal, so kill the healing thing first, and now regular fights also have healers. Beautifully smooth way to introduce and then standardize a combat mechanic. I also like the small graphical touch of Marl's attack. She uses a crossbow and shoots if the enemy is far away, but if the enemy is close enough, she'll just run up to them and smack them. You didn't...
The enemies might have been vulnerable to magic? Maybe, but Magus's magic hits the whole screen, which means it would have gotten the... Well, no, sorry. If he uses the Dark Sphere, it's a radial. But if he uses any of the other spells he has, it hits the whole screen, which then it would have gotten counter.
Need to attack animations based on sprite distance, but they have to, and I appreciate that. Attack animation differences also goes a little deeper. You can always tell when a character is about to score a critical hit because they will approach the enemy differently. If you tell Chrono to attack, he'll just run up and slash the enemy, but on a critical hit, he won't run, he will leap at them. Meaning there's this lovely brief moment where the animation lets you know you're about to hit critical damage before the satisfyingly large number pops up. We also get our first touch of elemental tactics. These goo enemies are resistant to all non-elemental attacks, so Luca needs to handle them with the flame toss. Leaving Lab 16, we arrive in Aris Dome, and the people inside are amazed that we've crossed the ruins. We're told by the Elder there is food stored below, but it's guarded by a robot defense sentry, and no one is strong enough to fight past it. We're also told some guru guy lives on Death Peak, but that's not our concern right now. We head into the dome basement to try and get the food, and the computer needs a password, so we go looking for clues. The search for the password leads us over these beams and this lovely use of parallax scrolling when the background moves quicker than the foreground, implying the depth of this dome. Guarding the food room is indeed a massive robot, the Guardian, flanked by 2 support bits. Now, if you hit the main body while both bits are alive, it will retaliate with a powerful delta wave tri-attack. And if there's one bit left when you attack the main body, it will amplify its attack against a single character. So you need to take out both bits and then damage the main body, but when they're both dead, the body will begin a countdown from 5 to 0, and then the bits will respawn. This is a combat design the game uses repeatedly to great effect, putting the boss into a vulnerable state, capitalizing on that brief moment of vulnerability, and then setting up that moment again. Because you also need to decide how much time of that moment of vulnerability to dedicate to healing your own party. With the boss down, we reach the food storage, and it's rotten. It has been for ages. There's also a dead body with a note saying, "Catch the rat, it knows the password." This body is also clutching something tightly, a single seed, the potential to regrow food, so we take it. It's not much, but it's all we have. We sprint along the beams and catch the rat, and it tells us to open the door, hold L and R, and then press A, and this is the first time the game breaks the fourth wall. The instructions refer to the SNES controller's buttons itself. Hold both shoulder buttons and press A. Now, Chrono Trigger will break the fourth wall a few times, giving instructions which refer to the controller you're using itself, and thankfully, they've kept this reality break thematic and only use it in the sci-fi time period and only to activate machines. So this makes some level of sense. You are literally putting a code into a machine. Unfortunately, these passwords do cause major issues when you're playing on an emulator and using a keyboard, because a keyboard won't accept 3 keys being pressed at the same time, so you'll need to rebind both L and R to a single keystroke in the emulator settings. And there's another password issue we'll see later in the factory. We put the password in, fight through more enemies, and find the main PC. Luca manages to figure out the system, and we watch a small video telling us we are in the year 2400. She also finds a note about a time portal in Proto-Dome to the east. Marl then presses a random button, because that's just who Marl is, and accidentally opens up a visual recording from the year 1999 titled The Day of Lavos. And we learn how the world came to be in this state, how the world ended. A massive creature erupts from inside the planet, spewing molten rock everywhere, destroying all life, reducing the world to this charred husk. With this revelation, Marl panics and Luca remains calm. The Day of Lavos, the Armageddon, happens in 1999. So her plan is to return to our time, 1000 AD, and figure out how to stop the Day of Lavos 999 years before it happens. We return to the main dome and give the seed to the...
That's the part where she said, "Let's do this," and I was like, "No," and then you got forced to anyway.
survivors. Marl gives an impassioned speech about not giving up, and the Elder gives us a key for his old speeder bike, saying if we're going east to the other dome, we'll need to cross Lab 32. And Lab 32 is another mutant-infested stronghold, but eventually we find the jet bike and meet the man. This is Johnny, half man, half bike, all celebrity machine racer. Johnny challenges us to a race through the ruins, and here's another issue I have with Chrono Trigger. The race itself is a single-use mechanic. You move horizontally across the screen. You and Johnny will constantly swap places, almost as if you're connected by a rubber band. You can crash into each other to block the bounce, or use one of 3 temporary speed boosts to pull ahead. All that really matters is you cross the finish line first, and this just means use a single speed boost before the end, and you'll win.
Thank you.
Pretty much guaranteed, but what's my problem? Well, you're heading to the East Dome. On the world map, that means moving left to right, west to east. Even on the map, when you meet Johnny, you are exiting the right-hand side of the map, implying you are moving to the right. But when the race starts, you are moving from right to left, which is switching screen direction, and it's super jarring. And this is the first moment the journey of the game has not felt smooth. Win the race, find the Proto-Dome, and inside there's a broken robot sentry, so Luca...
I don't really care about that, because you could just say the camera is on the other side. Like, if you're moving left to right, the camera's facing north. If you're moving right to left, you could still be going east, but the camera's just pointed south. But... yeah, the whole race with Johnny felt completely pointless because you just wait to the last second, then press boost.
Fixes it up, and we meet R-66Y. He doesn't remember much, but he's happy to be called Robo. Unfortunately, Aris Dome is locked, and the unlock mechanism is in the factory to the north. Now, Robo tells us he can unlock this, but someone needs to stay here, so the moment it's unlocked, the switch can be activated, and the door will actually be opened. I choose to have Luca stay behind as Marl has the healing spell. Robo joins our party and is an absolute tank. He can absorb a load of damage, and his dual-tech Aura Beam is a party-wide heal. And then we fight some acid and alkaline enemies who, if allowed to fuse together, hit you for massive damage, which I like. It is, however, here I notice an issue with the combat system, and it's only a single frame. After selecting a tech and...
Saying that his dual-tech is a party-wide heal is kind of silly because you already had a party-wide heal dual tech right there.
Confirming which enemy you want to use it on while in wait mode, or after an enemy retaliates, or after 2 enemies take their turn in immediate succession. There is a single active gameplay frame before the next input happens. And sometimes this single frame is enough to allow an enemy to move out of alignment from an area tech or disrupt the lineup of a linear tech. It's extremely rare you'll come across this because it is only a frame, but if you wait for the enemies to move into a group, then select an AoE tech, and after the selection but before the tech animation starts, there is a non-zero chance of at least one enemy in that group moving out of the area of effect. It's much easier to see this effect with fast-moving enemies like the ones on screen now, and it means taking your time and lining things up doesn't always go in the exact way that the game has told you it will go. Arrive at the factory and get told, unfortunately, its 2 is locked with the passcode Zabi. So we begin an adventure to decode what that means. This means fighting over conveyor belts and even through some conveyor rooms, essentially a combat
Zabi.
endurance test as it's 3 battles in a row. Then we activate this crane to move some barrels and find the code Zabi.
I don't remember any of this.
Means X-A-B-Y, which would phonetically be pronounced Zabi, and it also refers to the buttons on the SNES controller. Now this seems really clever, and it is, provided you're playing on a SNES, but when they released this on Steam, they didn't change this bit. You're still told the code is Zabi, despite the fact you may be using a keyboard and not realize this refers to controller buttons, not the keys X-A-B-Y, or a non-SNES controller with X-A-B-Y being in different positions, notably the Xbox controller. And this oversight when localizing the game from SNES to anything else has caused no end of people to take to the forums and complain about being stuck in the factory. Put the X-A-B-Y code in and unlock the original door and send the factory into a haywire panic.
I guess I just guessed the code there. I guess I just guessed the code. It was like,
We
okay.
need to leave quickly. However, on the way out, we bump into Robo's old friends. Unfortunately, they see him as defective, and instead of helping, they throw him to the floor and smash him to bits. And if you try and run in to help, you are pushed back, and Robo himself even says, "Don't attack, they're my friends." And this is quite an emotional bit, and eventually, the mangled Robo is thrown down a trash chute, and we are left to fight the defense bots. I really like how the defense bots dual tech has them pick up your character.
I like it, and I said this before, but don't attack, they're my friends. So we wait till they murder our friend, then we attack.
An aerial bounce you through the screen for juggle damage. After surviving the ambush, we find Robo's battered body and drag him back through the overworld to Luca, who fixes him up. And Luca asks what Robo's plans are for the future. Now, he has nothing to do here, and he doesn't know what to say, simply replying, "No one ever asked me that." Unsure of what to do and realizing there's not much for him to do here anymore, he joins us, hoping that by helping to stop Lavos, he might find a purpose that he can feel proud of. So all 4 of us pile into the new time gate and see where we end up, but instead of ending up anywhere, we arrive in a black void. Pillars of light showing various time gates on the left, and then a central solitary cobbled street floating in nothingness, with an old man casually leaning under a lamp. This is the end of time. Whenever 4 people enter a portal together, they get sent to the end of time. This is narrative justification for the 3-person party size, which is fine. The old man tells us we can use the pillars of light to travel through time to various unlocked time periods, but whatever we do, do not use the portal contained in the bucket just to the north of him, because that bucket goes to 1999, the day of Lavos. And here is a fascinating gameplay choice. You can now attempt to fight Lavos whenever you like from now on, and the ending
See, that's what happened. I interacted with it, and he went, hey, just like that. And I was like, oh, you can't actually use this, and I didn't try again.
In Chrono Trigger will depend on how much other stuff you've done. From minor changes like side characters being dead or alive to major changes like who rules the world. Chrono Trigger's 14 different endings start here. And you can access the first 2 right now. Just take the bucket teleport and lose. You'll see the day of Lavos happens, an extended cut of the magma rain, and a 3D map hosted in the Sci-Fi Dome showing all the damaged and destroyed cities, along with the message, the future refused to change. This is the bad ending. And if you do somehow kill Lavos in the first fight, which you're not meant to be able to do, you'll get credits and a few monster sprites just hanging out. This is the Good Night Dream ending. As we play through the story, I'll note every point where killing Lavos at that exact moment would change the ending. The end of time also contains the door to Specchio, the Master of War, and Specchio will look different depending on your level, and as you level up, they look more powerful. Defeating Specchio in a fight unlocks the ability to use magic, and you need to defeat Specchio with every character you want to unlock magic for. They're not that hard to beat. For now, we need to go back to 1000 AD and research Lavos, and we can't go to the forest.
No, you don't. I just literally talked to him, and he's just like, presto changeo, here's your magico, that's it.
The Chancellor is waiting to imprison us, but thankfully there is another portal in this beam of light which lands us inside a closet in Medina Village. This is a village of monsters, or mystics as they are known, and they hate humans. They are worshipping a statue of Magus, talking about the war 400 years ago and mentioning how Magus created Lavos to use as a weapon against the humans. So there's a lead. There's also a magical glowy pyramid to the north, and we can't access this yet, but we'll come back later. And then we meet the great Ozzy, whose ancestors fought alongside Magus 400 years ago. Inside this house just south of the village, we find Melchior, a weaponsmith. He will be very important later. Journeying back to the human village takes us through the Hekran caves. Luca and Mal gain their dual fire ice tech, and then when Hekran, the ruler of these caves, dies, he laments that Magus, who brought forth Lavos, should have killed all humans 400 years ago. Jump into the whirlpool at the end of the Hekran caves and get spat back out in the human village, which is the only safe way to get back
here. You
here.
fought him the first time? Yeah, but Josh says you have to fight him for every character you want magic on, and I'm saying that's not true. I fought him once, and then I just brought every character and introduced them afterward.
Without being arrested by the Chancellor. This means we can go back to the fair and take the gate back to the end of time. And now a few new light pillars have appeared, with one of them taking us to 600 AD, 400 years ago. The Dark Ages hasn't changed too much because we've not done anything prior to this, and the locals talk about Magus's mystic army taking over Xenon Bridge to the south. There are, however, rumors that the legendary hero has reappeared, wielding the mythical massive...
Now see, here, I didn't know where to go. So I went to the dinosaur period of time, and I cleared that area out and no one would talk to me. And I was like, I guess I'm not supposed to be here. And then I ended up going to this time period afterwards.
A sword and brandishing the hero medal, ready to defeat Magus. So we pop over to Xenon Bridge to the south, effectively hunting down Magus to kill him before he can summon Lavos, and these soldiers need rations. So we head to the castle kitchen, and the cook tells us to deliver the food and also tell his brother, the knight captain, to be careful. And I like how there are just family connections throughout the lands, but they're not essential story beats, they're just realistic connections that tie places together. We pass the food on to the soldiers, restore some morale, and then fight across the bridge, and we meet Ozzy, one of Magus's commanders. In fact, the grandfather of the guy that we met in the village back in 1000 AD. Ozzy raises the dead human soldiers as skeletons and then mashes them all together into Zombor, a boss with a top half and bottom half, each with different elemental resistances. With Xenon Bridge cleared, we can talk to the locals in the southern village. We meet Toma, the wandering adventurer, again and hear tales of the legendary Masamune sword. Only this sword can defeat Magus, and only the legendary hero can wield it. And there are a few more subplots that you can start here. Talking to Fiona in her villa lets you know that her partner is missing and she has a desire to defend the woodland. And I like how this soldier in the shop says he just bought some new armor and then immediately falls over. It's not a subplot, I just thought it was quite funny. Local rumors say the legendary hero has been seen in the cursed woods, so we venture in. New mechanic: the frog enemies have super high defense, but the snake enemies will eat the frog enemies to refill their own health, so hit the snakes and let them kill the frogs for you. Deep in the cursed woods, hidden behind a bush, we find a little hovel, and inside, it's the Frog Knight from earlier. However, he assures us he is not the legendary hero, and he does not have the hero medal or the Masamune or the ability to be a hero, so he asks us respectfully to leave him alone. More local rumors then say Magus himself has been seen in the Denadoro Mountains to the east, and at the top of the mountain, a legendary sword is also sealed in a cave. If that sword is the Masamune, it's likely that Magus is trying to get hold of it before it can be used against him, so we set off to find it. And as we arrive in the mountains, a kid in a makeshift cape runs past us screaming, chased by a goblin. So we finish the fight encounter and then fight our way up the mountain. Another nice touch here: some of the goblins have wooden hammers which massively increase their offensive and defensive capabilities, but if you use Luca's fire attack, you will burn the hammer away and make them far weaker. Not a mechanical touch, but I love this little rainbow graphic on the river, just thought it was a nice visual. And this will again matter, because remember I said every time something catches your eye, it will be relevant later? This exact map is needed later for a secret. The cliff top is 4 consecutive battles, so I hope you healed up, and then we fight onto the waterfall itself and fall down to access some new caves and paths. And I really like how they've built in vertical design to climb the mountain. It's not just go up, it's go up, fall down, go into a cave, go around, go up more, fall down more. Lots of variety. Now there's no signs of Magus, but we do eventually reach the cave at the top, and inside, a small child, the guardian of the Masamune sword.
So there was some secret stuff on the way to Masamune that I didn't find.
So we go to take the sword, but the kid is actually 2 kids who are ancient wind spirits called Masa and Mune. They agree to give us the sword on one condition: we beat them in a fight and prove that we are worthy. Now, a quick side note: many video games, mostly RPGs, have the Masamune sword. It's Sephiroth's sword in Final Fantasy VII, it's been in Castlevania, Soul Calibur, Secret of Mana, and many more. Now, Masamune is actually the name of a 13th century Japanese swordsmith, Goro Masamune, widely considered one of the greatest swordsmiths of all time. Several of his works can still be seen displayed in museums across Japan. Defeating the Masamune twins makes them...
Let's see. Oh, nice. Have you been enjoying the game? I just rage quit. I was 16 hours in. I just rage quit, and I'm looking at a review of the game. I want to see if they had the same issues that I had.
Say only Cirrus made it this far before, and we've heard of Cirrus before. They were mentioned by the knights on Xenon Bridge, so it's likely that Cirrus is the legendary hero. But where is he? The Masamune...
I got to a fight with the a queen, and so it was like 2 boss fights in a row, and if you die on the second one, you had to redo the first one also. So like, as you try things on the second fight and you're trying to learn how the fight works, if you die, you had to replay like 20 minutes. And I did like 3 attempts on it, and then I just got upset. She also has a skill where she reduces the party's health to 1 hit point, and then she takes another turn really fast and kills somebody.
Mune kids then fusion dance into a single entity, and we fight one more time, and this form stores up energy and then releases it. However, Chrono's slash tech, just like the Dragon Tank, dissipates the energy and keeps the team safe. When you win, you are gifted the Masamune. However, it's only the blade, and it's broken. With this in hand, we are whisked safely down the mountain by the wind spirits, and now we need to fix this sword and find the hero. Remember the kid who ran past us crying at the base of the mountain? Well, you can find him in his house. His name is Tata, and he's crying to his dad. Tata says he found the hero medal, so he just took it and wanted people to think he was the hero. His dad is also super annoyed that he's not the hero because his dad wanted to be...
That is not what happened. He found the hero medal, other people saw him with it and thought he was the hero, and then he felt like he had to play the part. He did not just take it and say, I wanted to be the hero.
Known as the father of the famous hero. We asked Tata where he found this hero medal, and he says... a frog dropped it. There are some new endings available already. If you challenge Lavos before you visit the mountains and Tata runs past you screaming, you'll get the legendary hero ending, where Tata is fully convinced he's genuinely the hero and will try to take on Magus single-handedly. But in this alternate timeline, the part of the protagonist hero is played by Robo in the future, and Magus is replaced with Chrono, Mal, and Luca. But if you return to the frog and give him his medal back, unfortunately, he still doesn't believe anything can be done. He is not the hero. However, if you look around his house, you'll discover he does indeed have the broken hilt of the Masamune, and there's a name engraved on the hilt, Melchior. We know that name. That's the human weaponsmith from the Mystic Village in the year 1000 AD. So we return to that time via gate and go and see Melchior. He has no idea how we have found both parts of the Masamune, but says yes, he can fix the sword. However, he needs Dreamstone, an ancient red stone not seen in millions of years. Another new ending. If you challenge Lavos after giving Frog the hero medal, but before traveling to the past, you'll get the unknown past, showing prehistory and all of the events that you failed to change. With Melchior's need for ancient Dreamstone, we can return to the end of time, and one of the pillars of light takes you to 65 million BC, so we travel to prehistory. Unfortunately, the landscape has changed, and so where we materialize is just in the air, and we fall down directly into a dinosaur ambush, but then we are saved by a fearless, savage girl. This is Ayla, and she respects strength, but her flaw is that she will charge blindly into battle even against impossible odds. She believes everything can be solved with enough power. Ayla is the chieftain of the local village, and so invites us over to celebrate us arriving. The overworld also looks a bit different, but the locals do.
Can you like the video? Yeah, absolutely. Hang on. That is it.
Tell us the chief owns a rare red stone. Brilliant. That's probably what we need. Before we talk negotiations, though, Ayla throws us a party with drinks and dancing and singing, and this is a lovely section. If you talk to Marl and Luca, they will wander around and enjoy the food. Marl even goes to do some dancing with the tribe. Ayla tells us that in this time period, all humans are at war with the reptites, giant sentient reptiles led by Azala. And we are currently in Ioka village, and they are all fighters, unlike the cowardly Laruba village to the north, who hide away in their forest base and don't fight like the cowards they are. We tell Ayla that we need the big red rock, and she challenges us to a soup drinking race, and this is the same mechanic as the soda guzzling challenge from earlier, just mash A. Eventually you'll win and then fall asleep and wake up groggy and confused the next morning, just like any good party. Good news, we do indeed have the rock. Ayla is a woman of her word. Bad news, the gate key used to activate portals is missing, and we are now stuck in this time period until we get it back. Ayla immediately thinks that clearly the reptites stole the key because there are reptite tracks around the party area. So she joins us to go and hunt them down, and the reptite footsteps lead us to the southern forest maze. But when we get there, we discover it wasn't the reptites that took the key, it was another human, someone called Chrono. He has a crush on Ayla, and he was jealous that Ayla was paying attention to us and not him, so he took the key to show that he's capable. However, Chrono then genuinely did get ambushed by the reptites, and now they do actually have the key. Ayla scolds Chrono and sends him to look after the village while she fixes this mess. Ayla herself joins our party, and she is a melee beast. She is the only character who doesn't use a weapon, instead just clawing enemies with her bare hands, and this will be super useful later. I also like how chests in every time period look different. Wooden in medieval,
He also likes her chest, Chad.
metal in the future, grass and bamboo in prehistory. It's a small graphical touch which keeps the mechanic of treasure chests but adds in the aesthetical override of specific time periods. The jungle is a load of unavoidable fights, and while battling, I really do appreciate just how strong the characterization is. Ayla is the opposite of Luca. Luca is physically weak but makes up for it with technology, thinking situations through calmly for the best solution, while Ayla is physically strong but refuses to even use a weapon and charges into every problem and fixes it by...
Yeah, in every single picture of her, she's holding a wooden club. I looked around for that club, and I couldn't find it. I never found a weapon she could actually equip. But all the artwork has her with one.
Hitting it. So they clash physically, but Marl and Frog clash emotionally. Marl is fleeing her royal heritage because she believes she is strong and capable enough and needs to show the world what she can do by herself, while Frog is hiding from the world because he did try and show what he could do and...
Also, the frog looks so good in the sprites for the game, but the actual artwork of the frog always looks so awful. He looks so bad.
Failed. Robo wants a purpose because everything is destroyed, and the next character you can potentially get, no spoilers, but people who have played the game will know, has a single-minded purpose so strong it absorbs their entire life.
Okay, is that supposed to be Magus? I haven't seen that artwork. That looks so weird.
They know exactly what they want to do and will not deviate from that path at all. So with 7 playable characters, we effectively have 3 opposite pairs and Chrono. Chrono still acting as the player's self-insert, and your drive is whatever you want it to be. So we fight into the reptile lair and take on the Megasaur. Now, dinosaurs have super high physical defense, so Ayla can't really hurt them. But if you use Chrono to stun them with lightning, their defense drops sharply. Perfect teamwork. Eventually, we do find Azala, leader of the reptites, and they have our gate key, but they call their henchman Nizbel to fight us. Now, you need to use lightning to stun Nizbel. However, they will retaliate by releasing stored electrical energy in a giant wave attack. So it's a trade-off. You get a brief window of damage against Nizbel, followed by a big hit against yourself. When you do take Nizbel down, we grab the gate key, return to the mountains, and leap back into the time gate, allowing us to return to Melchior with the Dreamstone. Luca and Melchior work together to fix the Masamune, and with the sword complete, we return to 600 AD and present it to Frog. With both the sword and the hero medal, surely, whoever Frog is, he's ready to reclaim his mantle as the legendary hero. He must be Cirrus. But then... he tells us the real story. Cirrus was indeed a brave and capable knight, going on many adventures with his timid squire Glenn, even slaying the Frog King and taking the hero medal many years ago, being gifted the Masamune. But then Cirrus and Glenn were sent to the mountains to take on Magus, and there, Mystic Commander Ozzy injured Glenn, and while wounded, Glenn was forced to watch as Magus killed Cirrus. With the legendary hero Cirrus dead, insult was then added to injury. Instead of killing Glenn, Magus forces him to live with this memory and his failure, and transforms him into...
it just occurred to me. I never really thought about this. It wasn't, for some reason I was remembering that Ozzy had made Glenn become the frog, but it was Magus. Magus joined the party later. Could Magus have fixed him? Could Magus have turned him from a frog back to normal?
A frog. So Frog isn't the legendary hero. In fact, no one is anymore. Cirrus is dead, but with the hero medal and the Masamune, Frog agrees to join you. He may not be able to kill Lavos, but he's determined at least to avenge Cirrus by killing Magus. 2 more
Let's see. I'm conflicted to try this game for the good rumors about it and watching Muck's perspective of trying the game from a modern gamer's perspective. And Muck, with that in mind, Ayla charming the hands sounds like the only time you would have wanted to attack them at all. You get really good equipment if you're willing to put up with the counterattacks long enough to successfully charm her. I mean, I couldn't even survive without... I couldn't even beat the fight out of 3 attempts without doing counterattacks, Dale. I can't imagine adding more problems.
Endings have now been unlocked. If you challenge Lavos after fixing the Masamune, but before giving it to Frog, you'll get People of the Times, which is just a bunch of sprites of enemies you've not met yet hanging around together. And if you challenge Lavos after Frog joins your party, you'll get the Oath ending, where Frog leaves to challenge Magus, dispatches his henchmen, and then Frog and Magus duel on the roof of Magus's castle. It is, however, canonically unclear who actually wins this duel. With Frog in the party, make sure you return to the end of time and fight Specu again to unlock magic for Frog, and then return to 600 AD to hunt down Magus. Rumors say that Magus has been seen in the Eastern Magical Cave, so we fight on through. More flashbacks from Glenn, who I'll just call Frog from now on. We learn that Cirrus was always kind to Frog, even when others were cruel, and how Frog has always doubted his own abilities, knowing that he'll never be as brave or as strong as someone like Cirrus. He's lived in Cirrus's shadow his entire life, and when Cirrus was killed, the hero medal floated down the waterfall to Frog, and he's never felt worthy of inheriting it. But now, with revenge so close, Frog takes the Masamune and slices the mountain itself open to reach Magus. So we push on through the magical cave, more enemies, more of those strange sealed black boxes, and eventually we reach the castle of Magus. The castle itself is creepy as heck. Branching paths, NPCs who just laugh and wonder aimlessly, and even a doppelganger of Queen Lean, and then Chrono's mum. Commander Ozzy eventually appears and says the other commanders, Slash and
I enjoyed this area. This was a fun area, and there wasn't really like anything crazy frustrating going on here.
Kill them long before we reach Magus. Interesting note, the commanders Ozzy, Flea, and Slash are references to the musicians Ozzy Osbourne, Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Slash from Guns N' Roses, which is why if you talk to some of the NPCs in town, they'll say, oh, those tone-deaf commanders. Battling through the castle is just super eerie because they've specifically not used any music here. It's just sound effects. And when everything has been scored amazingly so far, the lack of music is as much a stylistic choice as the inclusion of music. Magus's castle is bleak, and there's nothing bleaker than nothingness. There's even a scene where skeletons keep stabbing each other and then respawning and beg you, relieve us of this misery. So Magus is clearly one sadistic dude. The Slash boss battle isn't too tough, especially with Marl casting haste and doubling your party's attack speed. However, a mechanical oddity with haste, it doubles your turn bar charge speed, but it only applies from the start of your next turn. So once hasted, you have to charge up your current attack at regular speed before the buff actually does anything. I do like how in the second phase, Slash grabs the sword from the wall, another example of something eye-catching becoming involved mechanically. And beating Slash actually gets you that sword, and Chrono can use it. The path to fight Flea actually has you fight clones of other characters. They are twisted versions and revert to the monster form when you interact with them. And Flea, the boss, is another two-phase magic boss, but before you fight, the frog warns you this is no ordinary woman. Flea corrects Frog and says he's actually a guy, but then adds in male, female, what's the difference? Power is beautiful, and I've got the power, which is interestingly progressive for 1995. What is super cool, though, is that in the actual fight, the room fades away and Flea replaces it.
I remember this fight being annoying because it just did status effects. It was like poison and confusion and sleep and stuff like that.
With a magical moving star field. The Flea fight is mostly competing against status effects like confusion and sleep, and when they go down, it's only Ozzy left in the way. Ozzy, however, is a coward and constantly runs away from you, forcing you to traverse moving conveyor belts and dodge falling guillotines to reach them, even speeding up the guillotine rate as you get closer. And if you do get caught, it's 50 damage, which is not insubstantial. This leads to another side-scrolling section fighting up some stairs, and then a homage to Donkey Kong. Roly enemies fall
Called that one. Yeah, I said this looks like a Donkey Kong level.
Back and forth down the stairs, but you can climb down these short lengths of chain ladder and avoid being hit by them. Ozzy then drops us into a pit, and this is an interesting subversion. Around the room are sparkles, and we know these as the save icons, so you assume that they're always safe. But Magus's castle is never what it seems, and the sparkles are actually enemies. Now, at first, I thought that triggering a fight by abusing a mechanic that a player has always assumed is safe is a bad subversion of expectations because you would make a choice that you believe is safe that this time will kill you. However, these enemies cannot hurt you. They're not dangerous at all, and killing them will actually reward you with massive experience, which is a great way of doing it. As soon as you trigger the save point and enemies appear, the player panics, but then always survives. More stairs, and Ozzy is relentless in throwing trap sutters, using chains to...
I greatly disliked these creatures. Because you had to hit them with like physical, then spell, then physical, then spell, then physical, then spell. So at this point in the game, I didn't have a lot of MP, and I ended up burning through lots of it every time I had to fight a hallway of these guys.
Raise up enemies to surround us, and these juggler enemies also increase their resistance to either physical or magical attacks based on the last thing you hit them with. So you're rotating between spells and non-elemental text or basic attacks, which is keeping the fights varied. And eventually we corner Ozzy, and in a final cowardly move, he encases himself in a magical shield. But we attack the switches behind him and drop him into one of his own pit traps. With the three commanders sorted, we now
He's a World of Warcraft frost mage.
Descend into the inner sanctum of Magus. Frog and Magus exchange some words. Frog reveals he has both the hero medal and the Masamune, and the legends do say that he will defeat Magus. Magus replies with the iconic line, "The black wind begins to blow." Remember this, it'll be relevant later. And then we fight. Flashing light warning. The Lightning 2 skill flashes the whole screen with white light and is used frequently throughout the entire fight. The battle with Magus is intense. He has the second level version of every spell, so hits your entire party almost every attack. He's also only vulnerable to the element that he has just used, so you're timing your attacks carefully. Thankfully, you do have some tricks. Hitting Magus with the Masamune reduces his defense temporarily, and this will matter as he has 6,666 hit points. After a 20-minute fight of healing, reviving, and attacking, Magus drops to his knees and you learn more revelations. Magus didn't create Lavos, he only summoned him. Lavos has lived deep within the planet, feeding on the planet's energy and absorbing it for a long time, growing more powerful year on year. And before Magus can expand on why he's summoning Lavos, another time rift surges open and drags us all through it, the party and Magus, and spits us back out in 65 million BC. Thankfully, Ayla finds us again and nurses us back to health. She asks if she can eat Frog, classic Ayla, and Frog asks if Magus, the blue-haired one, is around. Ayla hasn't seen anyone else. However, our chat is cut short because the northern woods are on fire. The reptites have attacked. Another interesting ending.
Something about his tone of voice. She asks if he can eat the frog, classic Ayla.
Is unlocked here. If you fight Magus and lose, he'll complete the ritual, summon Lavos, and the world will end that way. Back in 65 million BC, Ayla heads to the peaceful village of Laruba to see it's been almost completely destroyed by reptites. Enraged because they didn't bother fighting back, she demands a dactyl, a flying lizard, to transport her directly to the reptites' lair so she can kill Azala and end the reptite-human war once and for all. So we join her and fight our way into the dactyl lair, find some dactyls, and now we can fly in the overworld map. Ayla is now also a member of the party permanently and can be swapped in and out at the end of time. But interestingly, if you take her to Specchio at the end of time, she cannot learn magic because Ayla is from a time period before magic existed. The dactyl flying mechanic is similar in its transport capacity to Final Fantasy VII's buggy or airship, both letting you reach new areas. And it's interesting that Lavos is an entity within the planet similar to Genova. That's because Chrono Trigger's plot was originally put forward as a plot for Final Fantasy VII and was rejected. But while being rejected, several major story beats and mechanical aspects have been copied. We fly into the reptiles' main Tyranno lair and take the fight to them, freeing human prisoners as we go. Ayla even frees the imprisoned Kino and demands he goes look after the village. The Tyranno lair is one massive puzzle with switches, hidden trapdoors, and looping paths leading back to higher levels. And eventually we find Nizbel 2, similar to the first but stronger. We fight and win, and then we reach Azala. And just so you know, there are 28 combat encounters from the start of this lair to the end. But Azala isn't alone. They are joined by the reptiles' secret weapon, the Black Tyranno. This boss fight
Still think it's weird that they kept this huge creature on top of a tower. It must have been a nightmare getting him up there.
needs you to take out Azala first and then wait for the Tyranno to count down. While they're counting down, they are vulnerable, but make sure you are braced for a big attack when they finish. I also love the pseudo 3D effect created by this teleporting rock attack. That's graphically pushing what the SNES could do. As they're a dinosaur, they're weak to lightning, and thankfully we've unlocked the dual tech Spire, which has Frog plunge the Masamune into an enemy and then Chrono use it as a lightning rod to channel the bolt of energy through. After taking down the Black Tyranno, fire rains down from the sky. Ayla even sees a falling meteorite and says, for some reason, Lavos. We learn her tribe's words for big fire translate as Lavos. We see the comet fall to Earth and then hear the signature scream. Magus did not create Lavos.
Is that a scream?
No one did. They're an entity which fell from space 65 million years ago and have been hibernating within the planet, draining the planet's life force and growing more powerful ever since. Unfortunately, we can't fight the original Lavos right now because the crater where they made landfall is empty. They've already burrowed the planet's
They raised it there from a baby. Maybe.
core. There is, however, a new time gate. There's also a new ending if you return to the end of time right now and take the buckets to fight Lavos before helping Ayla beat Black Tyranno. If you do this, you'll get the Reptite ending. Reptites won the war, and now everyone is a Reptite. Back in the crater after the Lavos landfall, we head inside the time gate and get thrown forward to 12,000 BC, the Ice Age. The overworld is frozen, but we find a magically advanced sky bridge which throws us up into the clouds to the magical floating kingdom of Zeal. More accurately, I suppose, a queendom, as the locals speak very highly of Queen Zeal and how she provides for all their needs with her almost unlimited magical energy. We even hear about some super powerful elemental weapons to the north hidden inside a magically sealed blue pyramid, but they're not needed anymore, not with the Queen's endless power. We explore the magically advanced libraries of 12,000 BC Zeal, and then a small blue-haired boy walks past us, lingering just long enough to say, "The black wind howls," then looking at us and telling our party, one of us will die. What a strange yet somehow familiar child. The floating islands of Zeal are connected to the mainland by sky bridges and then land bridges, so we travel around, and there are still people living on the surface known as the Earthbound. They lack magic and are therefore not worthy to live in the luxury of the Sky Islands. And back up in the sky, docked to the side of the islands, is a massive flying machine called the Blackbird. This is the creation of the maniacal Sir Dalton, and he says we must be the ones the prophet spoke of. Are we expected here? So we explore more of Zeal, including the city of Kajar, where the locals explain they perform experiments for the Queen to enhance her magical powers. And then we hear rumors of a magical sunstone sealed in a keep to the south, and then we learn about the Queen's children, her daughter Sahala and her son Janus. Sahala is a magical prodigy with a kind heart, and Janus is still a young boy but shows some promise with magical skill. Check this out as well. There's an item hidden to the top right. You can see the sparkle effect on the screen, but you can't reach it. But if you climb the steps and change screens, you can pick this item up from off screen. I've not seen that done too many times in games. We ask around and learn more about
Didn't figure that one out. That's interesting.
the sunstone, this magical orb of energy, but once it's used up, or if it's left alone for a long time, it becomes a moonstone. But you can recharge a moonstone back to a sunstone by leaving it in direct sunlight for millions of years.
So we saw this conversation, and I even said at the time, I was like, okay, so sounds like I need to take this stone back to the dinosaur age, and then fast forward to the future, and then pick it up, and it'll be charged up. We never ended up using that mechanic. I'm not sure where that comes into play.
We travel up the northern mountain to the palace of Queen Zeal, trying to ask around about anything, how to get back to our own time, Lavos, any hint of what we should be doing. And the scholars tell us about the source of Queen Zeal's power. Deep in the ocean, apparently there exists a vast energy source of unknown origins, but the Queen has constructed a giant siphoning device called the Mammon Machine, and this converts the unknown source's energy into magical potential, which she uses to sustain the Kingdom of Zeal. The Mammon Machine currently resides on the Sky Islands, but it seems to be able to draw more energy when closer to the ocean. So the Queen has built a giant underwater complex known as the Ocean Palace and is moving the Mammon Machine down there. The Ocean Palace is currently being overseen by the mysterious Prophet. No one quite knows who he is. While in Zeal, we also meet 3 magical gurus, the wise leaders of the land.
Hey. Thank you. Could I have the soy sauce possible? Thank you.
Melchior, Balthazar, and Gaspar. We're told that Gaspar is working on something called the Chrono trigger, but no one quite knows what it is. Interesting side note, Melchior, Balthazar, and Caspar, with a C not a G, are the commonly accepted historical translations for the names of the 3 kings who brought Jesus gold, frankincense, and myrrh in the nativity story. We also meet this lady, hiding a sapling. Apparently the Queen has told her to burn it because Zeal does not need plants, but you can tell her to plant it.
Thanks.
And if you do, you unlock a very important future side quest. We head deeper into the Palace of Zeal, and there's that strange
I
door
did tell
again.
her to
And then we
plant
meet
it.
Sahala, and we see her give a magical pendant to her younger brother Janus, and then they both mention how Mother has changed. Sahala is called away to the Ocean Palace to be with her mother, the Queen, but before she goes, she visits the Mammon Machine to charge up her pendant. And people comment that our pendant, the one that Marl dropped when we bumped into her back in Lean Square, looks exactly like the one that Sahala gave to Janus. Which is strange because Sahala's pendant is made out of Dreamstone, the same material the Mammon Machine itself is made from, and the material that the Masamune was fixed with. We then see Sahala use her magical pendant to open the strange runic door, so we try the same with ours, but it doesn't work. It seems ours is unpowered, but if it is somehow exactly the same pendant, we can just commune with the Mammon Machine like Sahala did, channel energy into it, and then use it to open the magical doors. And then a random NPC confirms the theory that the Mammon Machine is indeed siphoning energy from something, a creature called Lavos. But everyone in the Sky City of Zeal is fine with this because everyone is obsessed with gaining eternal life, a gift the Queen keeps saying she will soon be able to provide. The libraries of Zeal don't seem to have any guards either, as they're all too arrogant
Knock the vid speed up a few more notches. I want to hear it reach gerbil levels.
to believe they could ever be in danger, so we can simply walk right up to the Mammon Machine and charge our pendant. So with our pendant charged up, we can open the magical doors and actually go and confront the Mad Queen. She's gone
Still really odd that all the guards allowed us to do that.
insane with a desire for power, and is joined in her chambers by Dalton, the creator of the Blackbird, her second in command, and the mysterious Prophet. When we break in,
Someone in chat says Dalton didn't make the Blackbird, Balthazar did. Dalton just claimed it.
Dalton summons a golem to attack us, and it's a very tough fight, but even when you win, the Queen uses her immense power to imprison us in a beam of light. We're left alone, but then rescued by Sahala, the Queen's
Even when you win, I lost to that fight. I thought it was a scripted loss.
daughter. Sahala explains how the 3 wise gurus have been lost and need to be found. But before we can fully escape, the Prophet appears. They demand to be shown how we arrived here, so we take them to the time gate. The Prophet then demands that we leave this time and never return, and after doing so, orders Sahala to seal up the gate behind us so we may never come back, which she does. This throws us back to 65 million BC in the crater. Ayla asks why Lavos isn't getting weaker if they're siphoning energy from it in the future. And then Frog reminds us about the pendant opening magical doors, and we've now got a powered up pendant, and we have a vision of a sealed magical door in the far future of 2300 AD. So it's time to use our powered up amulet to open the magical doors that we've seen before. 2 new endings are available here. If you return to the end of time and take the bucket to battle Lavos right now, you get the Prophet ending. Ayla returns with you to 1000 AD, and the Prophet, whoever they are, says it doesn't matter if they're destroyed from history, they are going to try and kill Lavos. And there's also a rather awkward but funny ending. If you wait for Sahala to charge her pendant at the Mammon Machine, but you don't charge yours, and instead return to the end of time in that awkward moment, and then take the bucket to kill Lavos, you'll get the slideshow ending, which features Marl and Luca being annoyed that the game ended so abruptly, and commenting on how attractive all the men of Chrono Trigger are, saying who they'd want to date. And if you get this ending, you'll see the only 2 lines of dialogue that Chrono has, berating the girls for objectifying the guys. But with the power to open the sealed doors given
What? That's the only dialogue Chrono has in the whole game?
to us from the 12,000
Wow.
BC Zeal Mammon Machine and the vision leading us to 2400 AD, we return to the future and can finally go and open those sealed chests we've seen around the place, gaining some of the most powerful equipment. But be aware, there is a super hidden mechanic here if you want the best stuff. Remember those magically sealed chests? They're exactly the same as the doors, and now that you have a powered up pendant, you can open them. And these magically sealed chests exist in both 600 AD and 1000 AD. And if you open them in the past, they'll be empty in the future, which makes sense. But if you interact with them in the past and select no when asked if you want to take the item, and then travel to the future and go and interact with the same chest again, the item inside will have grown in power because you exposed it to the powered up pendant 400 years ago. And doing this gets you the upgraded version of the item, so the white vest, which absorbs...
What? Why would the pendant make loot better?
50% lightning damage.
That doesn't make
becomes
any
the white
sense.
male, absorbing 100% of lightning damage. In total through the game, there are 6 magically sealed chests that can't be upgraded with this trick, and 6 upgradable chests. 3 of them we can access now, and the remaining 3 we'll need to come back to later. You also have the Sunken Desert side quest available to you now if you told the woman in Zeal to plant and keep the sapling. But we'll return here later too. Back in 2400, the locals tell us of a strange guru living on Death Peak, a mountain you can
Nano
only reach by going
machines?
through
Oh
the
my
sewers.
God.
And they whisper a name, Balthazar. So we fight our way through. And I love this little bit. You find a note telling you the fish in the sewers are attracted to sound and will attack anything noisy. And then this lovely bit. If you interact with the objects around the water, or with this cat, they'll make a noise, fall in, or run away and meow, drawing enemies to you. But if you use the save point, activating it makes a little ding sound, which also draws enemies to you. Through the sewers, we reach the Keeper's Dome and find the preserved memories of Balthazar, the Guru of Reason from the magical kingdom of Zeal. We learn that he was flung through time by a disaster in Zeal, and spent his life here studying Lavos.
Yeah, I realized it was a storytelling thing, but just finding memories as we walk down this hallway was really weird to me. Like, not journal pages or diary notes, but just we've found flashbacks.
Fortunately, knowing he had limited time before he either died or went insane, Balthazar finished his final creation and now leaves it as a gift to us. We open the sealed door and find the Epoch, a time machine. It seems Balthazar's final act was to copy his limited memory into this new construct body and have it protect the Epoch until we arrived. With access to the Epoch, we now have the ability...
Another issue I had here, I got a cutscene, like a cartoon, of Chrono jumping in and flipping a bunch of switches and immediately piloting it like an expert. As if he had gone to aviator school? I don't know.
To travel through time freely. Well, most of time. And this also allows us to return to 12,000 BC because we're not using the gates anymore. And this lets us go back to the Mammon Machine and to try and stop the disaster which scattered the Gurus of Zeal. Or you can fly around and visit different places. Or you can do what I did, which is visit lots of places and then forget where you parked the Epoch, accidentally take a time gate, and then spend an hour trying to find your time machine again. But back in 12,000 BC, we need to fulfill our promise to Sahala.
I never lost that.
And 45 months, woo, that's a long time, lol.
So if you park the Epoch in one time, it's not like still parked at the end of time too. It's like literally in only one location.
And try and rescue the Gurus before whatever disaster happens. The local chatter says one of the Gurus lives on the Mountain of Woe, a floating landmass above us. Unfortunately, when we arrive in 12,000 BC, the sky bridge that we use to access the floating islands is closed. Thankfully, we can still access...
If you check out the domes in your first visit, 2300, you see Balthazar while he's alive. I did run into him while he was alive, but he was dead when I got there the second time.
That's the Mountain of Woe, by climbing the massive anchor chain tethering it to the ground below. This means fighting past a few more beasts and goblins, and this is a nice mechanic. These beasts retaliate when you attack them, so you want to focus on killing the goblin handler, but instead of attacking you, the goblin handler just throws stones at the beasts, which enrages them and sends them charging at you. They really have thought about variety in boss interactions. On the ascent up the mountain, you'll also meet these rubble enemies. They have no attacks and incredibly high evasion, and they also lock you out of using any techs, which means you can only use basic attacks. And if you are lucky enough to kill them, you will get a ton of experience and tech points. I like the small touch that Ayla's throw attack doesn't affect flying enemies because falling wouldn't hurt them. And then Ayla learns Charm, which is a rather powerful tech which can steal items from enemies, and in the late game, this is the best way to farm expensive equipment. I'm also noticing a clever graphical decision. The grass is animated to show how windy it is up here, but only the octagon in a few squares around the player, not the whole screen. This gives the effect of the grass being still until you walk near it, and it feels like you're looking through an obscuring cloud down onto the mountain. This also reduces the processing power required as it's not animating the whole screen, and likely actually looks better because if all the grass was waffling all the time, it would actually be quite nauseating. The Mountain of Woe is, as the name suggests, a challenging slog to climb, but at the peak we find a sealed crystal. The Guru, locked in a magical prison, guarded, unfortunately, by Giga Gaia, the protector of the mountain and source of its magical power. The Giga Gaia fight is another long one. Both hands
Isn't this the guy that was like pogging the whole time?
will perform double techs one after the other, so you need to take them out fast. However, they revive rather quickly. But thanks to Chrono and Ayla's dual tech Falcon hit, slicing horizontally across the
there we go. He was like, oh, yeah, that's it.
screen, we have the perfect attack for this fight. With Giga Gaia down, we can rescue Melchior, the Guru of Life, and we know him. He's the guy who fixed the Masamune in 1000 AD. Now, with the spirit of the mountain defeated, the magical energy holding the Mountain of Woe suspended is unfortunately weakened, and the mountain crashes back down to Earth. So back with the Earthbound, Melchior explains to us that Lavos is consuming the energy of the planet, which is killing the planet, and then the Mammon machine is simply consuming a fraction of Lavos. So while Lavos may indeed be powering Queen Zeal's machine at the moment and providing her with almost unlimited magical energy, it's ultimately all coming from the planet, and the planet will have to pay for this. While we're talking, Princess Sahala shows up and asks us to stop her mother, the Queen, and explains the Ocean Palace is now fully operational, and the Mammon machine is about to be turned up to full capacity, which will sap so much energy.
Princess. Yeah, the princess was a liar. She's like, I will never again operate that machine for my mother. Literally 60 seconds later. Get in the damn machine, Shayla! She's like, okay.
From Lavos, it will likely wake them up. However, Queen Zia needs Sahala there to help operate it at such powerful levels, so as long as Sahala is safe, they can't turn the machine on. Unfortunately, Dalton, the second in command of the Queen, shows up and kidnaps Sahala. Knowing that we need to destroy the Mammon machine in 12,000 BC to both free Queen Zia from its insane power-hungry corruption and risk its activation waking Lavos, Melchior gives us a ruby knife, forged from dreamstone like the Mammon machine itself. He says if we plunge the ruby knife into the Mammon machine, it should be enough to destroy it. So with the sky bridge now activated again, we can return to the palace, only to be told, unfortunately, the Mammon machine has already been moved to the Ocean Palace. And then to make things even more difficult, we run into Dalton again, who is offended the prophet was taken to the Ocean Palace while he was left behind on guard duty. Angry that we're still alive, Dalton attacks us, and when we win, he opens a portal and teleports himself down to the Ocean Palace. We can take the same portal he just used and see the magical teleportation send us way down into the ocean, and then a cutscene showing the Queen turning the Mammon machine on. Fighting through the Ocean Palace to reach the Mammon machine is another long challenge. Lots of fights, lots of buttons and switches and doors, lots of saving and restoring health and mana between battles. I do, however, love the aesthetic of both this timeline and this place. It's not just technology, it's magically influenced machines and aether, impossible connections. Remember, this is 12,000 BC, and everything is powered by magic, not electricity, so they don't need to show wires or connections. The entire culture is obsessed with immortality, and everything that can be done with magic instead of effort is. This fight down a lift is another endurance test, and when you reach the bottom, don't accidentally hit the switch on the side like I did, because it sparkles and it looks like a save point, but it's actually the go back up button, and you need to fight down again, fighting the entire enemy roster again. Eventually we reach the...
So, I did not do that. However, when I saw that switch, I was like, oh yeah, I bet that just goes back up. And I smartly did not press it.
inner core and face Dalton again, except this time he's brought 2 security golems with him, and this fight is hard. I actually died here a number of times, and I learned that
I died here a bunch.
mental defense or absorption is better than basic defense numbers. Both of these enemies also have the death throw mechanic. When you kill them, they will let out one final attack, meaning if you land the killing blow with only a few health left, instead of being dramatic, you'll just die as well, so keep that HP high. With his golems defeated, Dalton realizes he can't risk dying before the offer of immortality kicks in, so he flees deeper into the palace. We give chase and eventually reach the beating heart of Zeal, the Mammon machine. Queen Zeal is drawing way more power than she can handle, and Sahala is overwhelmed and unable to help. The Prophet is standing by, seemingly waiting for the process to complete, so we charge forward and plunge the red knife into the Mammon machine to stop the waking of Lavos before it happens. But as we do, the spirit of Massa and Mune take control of the blade and aim it for us. The red knife created by Melchior absorbs the power of the Mammon machine into it and becomes the legendary Massa Mune blade. Unfortunately, the destruction of the Mammon machine isn't quite enough, and the burst of energy released awakens Lavos. And this fight is impossible. You're not meant to be able to win. Lavos will hit your entire party for hundreds of damage every turn. They will also cast Chaos, a status which causes you to attack your own party, which currently you have no way to defend against. But if you do somehow win this fight, you unlock the Programmer ending, where the production team congratulate you for beating a scripted death. After you're wiped out by Lavos, Sahala pleads with the Queen to stop this mad quest for power, but is struck down by her own mother. The Prophet then reveals himself to be none other than Magus, saying he survived the darkness just to kill Lavos. Magus seems to have a personal vendetta against Lavos and has been hunting it through time. Queen Zeal challenges Magus to do his best, and despite his magic and physical strength, Magus cannot hurt Lavos. With the entire party, Sahala and Magus all beaten by the awesome power of Lavos, a final attack is charged up. Lavos is going to absorb everyone's life energy. So, with his last bit of strength, Chrono crawls forward and throws himself into the attack, absorbing its full impact and erasing himself from history. Sahala capitalizes on Chrono's sacrifice and uses this brief moment to channel the final dregs of her power through her amulet and...
Erasing himself from history? I mean... I think it's better to just say he got dusted, because if he was erased from history, then that would mean all the actions that he did would get undone, which would mean Marley never got saved, which would mean the whole party never met each other, and it's not quite accurate.
Teleport your team and Magus back to the surface. We then watch as the destruction of the Mammon machine and the Ocean Palace releases massive blasts of magical energy, ripping through the floating island of Zeal, sending them crashing down into the oceans below, which trigger massive tidal waves to flood the land. With Lavos buried under rock and water, we know we have roughly 14,000 years until the day of Lavos. Your team wakes up in one of the few remaining tents, and the surviving Earthbound are now living with the refugees of the Sky Islands, and unfortunately, with Queen Zeal and the Mammon machine gone, the elite Sky people have lost all access to magic. A local tells us that when the Mammon machine exploded, a strange black portal appeared and dragged in Janus, the Queen's blue-haired son, and the Guru Melchior, throwing them both randomly through time. One of the village elders then approaches Frog and hands over the only keepsake of Chrono that they found, the pendant. And when we exit the village, thankfully, the Epoch is still safe. We ask around if anyone has seen Sahala or Chrono, but as we do, Dalton, tenacious as ever, shows up and declares himself king of this new land. He blasts us with fireballs and knocks us out, and unfortunately this means Dalton can steal the Epoch and abduct us as prisoners. And when we come to, we're in a strange metal prison room, so we have a look around, and it seems we are on the Blackbird, undamaged in the Mammon machine's explosion. Dalton now rules this destroyed world from the air, and to really add insult to injury, he's taken all of our equipment, items, and money, so you are now defenseless. Well, almost defenseless. This entire section on the Blackbird is actually designed to be a giant stealth puzzle. You can't fight the guards, and you need to find your way off the Blackbird and back to the Epoch. This means climbing up into the ventilation system of the Blackbird, shown by this wonderfully lit crosshatch of walkways, with vents that you can peek through to see what room you're going to be dropping into to make sure it's safe, and then finding 5 boxes containing each character's equipped weapons and armor, your items, and your money.
The peeking through vents mechanic is interesting because most people assume Metal Gear Solid 1 in 1998 was the first game to do this successfully. But no, Chrono Trigger, back in 1995.
Now, escaping the Blackbird is designed to be done in a specific order, finding the items for one character.
You could tell by his voice there that he added that in post-recording. He edited that in later.
Can be done with no combat because the guard guarding them is asleep, and then fighting your way to the others with one character. But if you have Ayla in your party at this time, she doesn't need a weapon and can just claw your way past every enemy with her bare hands. And in a nice touch, when you do find a character's equipment, it auto-equips for you. Eventually, you make it out of the box.
Which, yeah, that is a nice touch. Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader just a couple years ago did not have that.
Body of the Blackbird and onto the wings, and another mechanic. You'll constantly slide backwards off the wings here because of wind resistance. So you need to sprint against the wind and then dash sideways when you can while also dodging hazards. Eventually you'll make it to the edge of the wing. There's no way off, but then another security golem jumps you, and this fight is actually a joke. If you do nothing here, the golem will count down from 5, but then it will get nervous and count down again. and at the end of the second countdown, it will admit it's terrified of heights and run away. Unfortunately, not only has Dalton commandeered the epoch, it seems he's added wings to it, and I really like the use of light here to represent the hangar door opening. Chrono Trigger has played around the graphical limitations of the SNES really nicely to suggest a much grander experience than it can actually show. With the epoch now being able to fly and it being our only way home, we leap from the Blackbird on.
Mug, anything I read, you can leave without getting your stuff, and when you get the epoch, your stuff will be there minus money. I knew you could leave without getting your stuff because it warns you. I didn't know that you would get it back later.
To the epoch and once again take on Dalton. This fight ends when he tries to summon one of his golems, but as it's afraid of heights, Dalton ends up getting pulled into his own summoning portal and just erased. And now the epoch is ours again. First order of business, use the newly installed weapons to shoot down the Blackbird. With that dealt with, we now have a flying...
That was the weirdest moment in the game for controls, because it was like press X to fire. Or it's like press A to fire, whatever. And A on controller is X on my keyboard. And that didn't work. And then the next key didn't work. And the next one didn't work. So we literally just started going like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and numpad 7 was fire the epoch's blasters. This is the only time in the game I had to press that button.
Time machine, so we have access to every time period and every landmass. But before we leave, head on over to the North Cape in a final search for Chrono. And here, you'll meet Magus looking out over the bay, and he will explain the true events of the disaster of Zeal. Just before the destruction of the Mammon machine, when the Queen was at her peak of madness, the three gurus of Zeal, Melchior, Balthazar, and Gaspar, confronted the Queen. However, instead of listening to their advice, Queen Zeal ripped open a time portal using the power she gained from Lavos and scatters the gurus across time. Unfortunately, her young son Janus is also dragged in. Melchior is spat out in 1000 AD, Balthazar arrives in 2400 AD, and Gaspar arrives at the end of time. The old man standing under the lamppost is the Guru of Time, but Janus, the Queen's son, ends up in 600 AD and is found by Ozzy. The young Janus swore revenge against Lavos for corrupting his mother and destroying his homeland. Janus changed his name to Magus and worked with the Mystic Army with the sole purpose of resummoning Lavos simply
The
so...
Steam release of Chrono games are really bad. It's best to just play the original releases. I will say that the old school controls via Steam Deck made that kind of issue non-existent. Yeah, I will say that was a small thing, right? That was one time in the entire game I had that problem, but I'm just pointing it out.
He could kill it. So when Lavos made landfall in 65 million BC and allowed Magus to take the gates to 12,000 BC, he assumed the guise of the Prophet, infiltrated the Ocean Palace as an adult, and tried to kill Lavos again. So every time he has tried, he has failed. Magus killing Cirrus and then turning Glenn into a frog wasn't ever his main plan. It was just an unfortunate event on his quest for revenge. And now, you have to make a rather substantial choice. You can fight Magus in 12,000 BC, complete Frog's story, avenge Cirrus, and cement Frog as the legendary hero while also stopping the human mystic war of 600 AD before it starts. Or, you can forgive Magus, understanding his intentions were flawed but ultimately about saving the world, and invite him to join us in the quest to stop Lavos.
You don't invite him. You don't invite, because you just say, no, I don't want to fight you, and then he offers to join you. It's just phrasing. It's for phrasing.
Just versus the frog. A scared child thrown through time, hell-bent on destroying the creature which took his family and his home, and a scared child who watched his only friend and mentor coldly cut down before being transformed and left as a joke. This is the best type of writing because both characters are flawed and both have understandable motivations. Both of them are heroes in their own story. There's no right choice here. If you do fight Magus and win, you'll get to see Frog revert back to human form in the ending. But I want to show you the whole game, so we will let Magus live. Frog says he understands that revenge won't bring Cirrus back. He places the needs of the many above his own personal desire for vengeance, and Magus realizes that he cannot defeat Lavos on his own. Now, normally in games, when you unlock an enemy as a playable character, you get a powered-down version of them. But not here. In a really nice touch, Magus is just as powerful as when you fought him. He has access to all the same spells. His health is just scaled down to work with yours.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he is not just as powerful. He does not have 5,000 hit points.
But there's one final problem. The Ocean Palace isn't destroyed. The power of Lavos after the massive explosion in Zeal had one final trick, raising the magical Ocean Palace out of the sea and materializing it in the air. It hangs looming over the planet as the Black Omen. The Black Omen is the final dungeon, the ultimate route to Lavos, and it now appears in every time.
So yeah, I saw the Black Omen, didn't realize it was the final dungeon, and was like, oh, I need to go there next, and I went there, and everyone yelled at me.
Time period from 12,000 BC onwards. With the residual power granting Queen Zeal effective immortality, she waits for 1999, the day
I find it pretty funny that he's using the exact same team that I did. Clearly that was the best party.
of Lavos. In a nice narrative touch from this moment forward, if you travel forward in time using the epoch, no one thinks the floating sky fortress of the Black Omen is weird because it's always just been there. Some people even worship it, just assuming it's a natural island. Now, before we take on the Black Omen, return to the end of time and talk to the old man, who we now know to be Gaspar, the Guru of Time from Zeal. Gaspar even recognizes Magus as the young child Janus, and they share a brief chat. Gaspar is saddened by the loss of Chrono, but explains that there may be a way for us to bring him back into the timeline by changing a key event.
So I had to talk to the old man to find out how to get Chrono back.
event in the past. The Guru Melchior fixed the
There
mess
was
of
like 3 or 4 times during the story that I went and talked to the old man, and he had like no information for me, so it never occurred to me to go back and talk to him again after that.
The Guru Balthazar created the Epoch, and now the Guru Gaspar gives us the Chrono Trigger. A magical egg of pure potential. It may do something, it may do nothing. It may be the key to saving Chrono, we don't know. The only way to truly know is to speak to Balthazar, or at least his consciousness, and see what part of history we can change. So with the Chrono Trigger in our possession, we return to the future, and the creature containing Balthazar's consciousness tells us to hatch the time egg and activate the Chrono Trigger, we will need to climb to the peak of Death Mountain. But if we're trying to save someone, we will also need a perfect clone of that person to make sure the timeline is not changed too much. And he mentions a magician called Bekla, who makes clones. Now, Bekla is actually hosting a sideshow back at the Millennial Fair in 1000 AD. So we return there, play games until we have enough silver points to attempt Bekla's challenge, and then play a match the movement minigame, which is actually quite fast and quite hard. And when you win, Bekla agrees to make a clone. The clone appears at Chrono's house, so we take the clone, return to the future, and fight up Death Peak, which brings new mechanics even this far into the game. The wind pushes you down.
So we're making a clone of him just to murder the clone?
You have to hide behind trees when climbing up, timing your dashes up. And then in a cave, we fight a small Larvos spawn, thankfully nowhere near the power of its mother. Slowly edging along this thin path, the wind effect is also here, so it's a case of run against the wind, dash sideways, repeat, and if you fall, you have to start all over again. Eventually, you fight and defeat a Larvos spawn outside, and then need to push the shell of the defeated enemy into a position to act as a ladder. And this is the only instance in the game of pushing an object to open up a new path, which is a shame. This is also the only time that we see a unique mechanical interaction between having the fights happen on the map you're playing and then using the remnants of the fight to unlock new areas. And I think it's a real shame that Chrono Trigger didn't explore this blending of mechanics more. If you're going to have the fights happen on the map, then have the outcome of the fight affect the map itself. Finally, we reach the peak. The Chrono Trigger activates and then shatters. Did we do it? Have we failed? Well, suddenly we're thrown back in time to the exact moment before Larvos unleashed the energy blast against Chrono. Mages cannot believe we're actually in a time stop. Apparently it's the most powerful magical thing you can possibly do. But we take full advantage of this and replace Chrono with the clone. The Chrono Trigger ends, the time flow returns, and the actual Chrono is alive again.
Wait, hold on
with
a sec.
the clone. The Chrono Trigger
Hurry, we take
ends, the time flow
Chrono.
returns.
Save the hellos for later.
Actual Chrono
Chrono, good of you to return.
is alive again. With a full team returned, you now have several choices. Every single character has a side story remaining, and they're all fleshed out, and they all tie up their loose ends. Or you have 3 separate ways to take on Larvos. For now, we're going to complete everyone's side story to unlock all the ultimate weapons and also some armor which will be essential to surviving the onslaught of the chaos effects that Larvos has. You've also unlocked some new potential endings already. If you challenge Larvos after regaining the Epoch, but before reviving Chrono, you'll see the reunion ending. But this ending has 6 different variations based on how many other character subquests you have finished. Ultimately, the focus is on Marl growing up without Chrono and the rest of the party discussing if it's possible to bring him back, mentioning Death Peak, which is a lovely hint that after finishing the game, you could come back and try this again. With Chrono alive again, if you talk to Gaspar at the end of time, he'll mention all the quest lines you have yet to solve and hint at the time period they are in. And talking to party members in the end of time.
Oh man, that's so unfortunate. Because yeah, again, the old man, the first 3 to 4 times I talked to him in the early game, he had nothing useful for me at all. And yeah, because he when you meet him, he's like, oh, talk to me when you need help. And then the next few times I talked to him when I needed help, and he had nothing. So I was like, okay, this guy never says anything. But apparently he's useful just way later on. And yeah, it's just like I had already lost faith in him, and it was kind of like the bucket up here. The bucket, I tried this twice and it didn't work, and then I just assumed it did nothing, and I never tried it again. And apparently those are the only 2 times in the game that the bucket did nothing.
Time shows you a map location of where you should start looking. So it's not totally cryptic, but it does take a little bit of detective skill to fully figure out. Let's start with Ayla, who has the shortest side quest. Returned to 65 million BC, and Ayla's tribe claim to have some super powerful red armor, but they'll only trade it for multiple currencies all found in the hunting grounds to the north. You need to collect 10 fangs, 10 horns, 10 petals, and 10 feathers, and it takes a while to do this, but it's worth it. So we grind a little bit here until we get 3 sets of ruby armor. Next up is Luca. Remember the Kingdom of Zeal kept mentioning a sunstone?
Wait. How is that a quest for Ayla? That's just grinding and trading.
An object with immense power, which if left to die becomes a moonstone. Well, Luca thinks that if she could gain access to a sunstone, she could probably turn it into a weapon. So we travel to 2300 AD and use the Epoch to fly to the previously inaccessible Sun Palace. And there you will find the mini-boss, Son of the Sun.
Yeah, I never found
one of the hardest fights in the game. This Fire Guardian hits your entire team with high damage fire attacks and then a single target ultimate attack, often one-hitting even the toughest of characters. But that's not all. It's a gimmick fight as well. Attacking the
500 damage AoE.
core directly triggers a super powerful retaliation, so instead, you need to attack one of the 5 smaller flames orbiting the core. And if you are lucky enough to pick the correct one, you'll do some damage. However, once you pick the correct one, you only have a few turns to hit it before the sun uses Shuffle and mixes up the flames again. This fight is an endurance test of how long you can survive against incredible fire damage, but we have a sneaky advantage. Remember those ruby armors we got from Ayla's subquest? They reduce fire damage by 80%, and it was worth grinding for them because this fight, without that armor, is almost impossible. When the Son of the Sun boss dies, it loses its power and reverts back to its original Moonstone form. But we were already know to recharge a moonstone, just leave it in direct sunlight for millions of years. That's okay, we can do that. We take the epoch back to 65 million BC and drop the moonstone off at the Sun Keep. We then hop forward in time to 2300 and go and pick it up again, and it's not there. Somebody has taken it. If you have Frog or Magus in your party at this point, they'll suggest you start looking around 1000 AD. And if you fly back to
If you have Magus in your party. Why would you? Oh my god. Yeah, like if you don't have him in your party, you'd have no way of knowing where to go from here.
1000 AD. First off, I really like how traveling in the epoch maintains the overworld map position, but you'll also notice the mayor's house is a lot more sparkly than it was before. We ask the mayor if he's taken the sunstone, and he denies it. However, his family explain he is a bitter, greedy man, because that's just how he was raised, that's how his family have always been. So maybe we can fix that. Let's hop over to the local shop first and buy...
Dude, really? Are we gonna go back in time and fix his family
Buy some beef jerky for 9,900 coins. This is expensive, but very important. With the jerky in hand, go back to 600 AD. Go to the same house as the mayor, and you'll find a struggling mother trying to feed a lot of kids. She spots that you've got the beef jerky on you and offers to buy it off you for 10,000 coins. She is desperate. Now, we could make a profit, but instead of selling it, give it her for free. Your generosity astounds her, and she swears all of her children will be raised to know of this gift and be raised right. After doing this, hop back to 1000 AD, and the mayor is now a kind...
What? There's no way I would have figured this out. I don't even believe Josh figured this out. I think Josh looked this up online, and now he's acting like he figured it out. So hold on. So to complete Ayla's quest, you have to go back in time, grind feathers and fangs, trade with a caveman, get ruby armor that reduces fire damage taken, go to a different point in time, fight the Son of Sun, who you gotta hit the random shuffling flames, then you kill him, and then you get the moonstone, and this is the only part I figured out. You go back in time, you put it in sunlight, then you jump 60 billion years into the future, you go back to get it, but it's been taken, and this man stole it, and instead of just taking it back from him, or talking to him, it's easier to go back in time again with bacon, and teach his family the value of bacon, so that you can come back here. And now he's a nice man because he got bacon as a kid, which I could totally understand that part at least.
Kind and loving person adored by his family because of how he was raised. And when you ask about the Sunstone, he happily hands it over. Once you've got the stone, head back over to the Sun Keep and stick it down for another 1,300 years. Jump forward into the future to grab the fully charged up stone, and once you've got that...
Of course, exactly 1,300.
Head back to 1000 AD and go to Luca's house, and watch Luca and her dad work together to create Luca's ultimate weapon and accessory, the Wonder Shot and the Sun Specs. The Wonder Shot does random damage, and the Sun Specs vastly increase the chance of that damage being exceptionally high. Now let's move on to Frog. While Magus still lives, Frog can still find some closure. With the epoch available to travel across the land, we can access the northern continent in all time periods. And if you travel to the northern ruins in 1000 AD, you'll find a mad ghost guarding a keep. The ghost is immune to all damage.
Mock, you should reload before the big ship and then just do all this. No, I'm done. I'm done. Let's just enjoy what could have been. I'm good. I'm good.
The locals say the ghost has been around for about 400 years, angry that the place...
Wait, hold on. I need you to understand. Hang on a second. All right. Okay. I'm good. All right. Back to the show.
Fell into disrepair. Many saying it's a ghost of some legendary hero who was killed during the war with Magus. So we travel back to 600 AD and ask around. The northern ruins are damaged but fixable, so we hire a local builder to fix them. Problem is, he's misplaced his tools, and there are no tools spare in 600 AD. Not a problem. Hop back to 1000 AD, ask that local builder if you can borrow his tools, and he says, yeah, that's fine. So you take them, go back to 600, and the fixing begins. Unfortunately, the place is...
We couldn't even just go get some tools. We had to time travel to get tools.
Full of skeletons, so the builders refuse to work until you have cleared the place out and then offer them even more money. And eventually, the northern castle is a bit more presentable, and in the deepest parts of the castle, we find the grave of the legendary knight, Cirrus. The ghost of Cirrus appears to us, and Frog and Cirrus have an emotional reunion, with Cirrus telling Frog how immensely proud of him he is, and how Frog has become the hero he always knew he could be. Cirrus sees that Frog is strong and capable. He asks him to look after Queen Leene, and knowing the world is in good hands, he can finally rest. Seeing this show of true, unselfish heroism, the Masamune Blade finally accepts Frog as the legendary hero in this timeline, and it becomes the most powerful version of itself. And I'm not gonna lie, I got very emotional at this point, because it's a stunningly satisfying ending to the journey of self-doubt and guilt that Frog has felt his whole life. After you fix up the northern ruins, you'll also have access to more of those black magic chests, so do the same trick. Open them in 600 AD, decline the item, hop forward to 1000 AD for the powered-up version, which will give you the Valkyr, Marl's ultimate weapon. And it's kind of strange that Marl's weapon comes from Frog's mini-quest, and seeing as how every other character's subquest is the route to getting their best weapon and resolving their own personal story, getting Marl's ultimate weapon from an area and a storyline not in any way connected to her is unfortunately very weak scripting. But before we close the book on Frog's story, one final super hidden secret. Characters learn single and dual techs by leveling, but triple techs are a bit more elusive. Some of them you do learn, but the best triple techs have to be unlocked by equipping certain accessories. Frog's final triple tech needs you to equip a gold rock. And the only way to find a gold rock is to have Frog lead the party, return to the mountains, and then stand around while a ninja bird throws rocks at you. And this is the only enemy who throws rocks at you, and they are on the map
with the rainbow effect. Eventually, Frog will catch one of the rocks, turns out it's the gold rock, which unlocks his final technique. With Frog sorted, we can move on to Magus. Magus now understands that Ozzy effectively used him during the Mystic Human War of 600 AD, and because Magus never led that war is now being led by Ozzy and his commanders, Flea and Slash. They control a stronghold in 600 AD, so we head back there and storm in. The Flea and Slash fights are powered-up versions of their earlier selves, and the journey to Ozzy is again trying to get past...
Y'all know I'm a PG streamer. This is bullshit. What? Dude, this whole bit with a golden rock. Are you kidding me?
Back there and storm in. The Flea and Slash fights are powered-up versions of their earlier selves, and the journey to Ozzy is again trying to get past his cowardly traps. But I really like this moment. Ozzy summons some enemies, but then accidentally drops them into his own pits almost instantly, and the music actually dies to reflect the failure. I like this because it shows they've thought about the character's personality, the actions they'd take, the mistakes they'd make, and then used an audio cue to really reinforce that failure. Unfortunately, despite being a bit of an idiot, the final triple fight against all three is remarkably tough. Attacking them at all results in a triple tech retaliation from each one. So using a magic 2 spell and hitting all three means you have to eat 3 instant retaliations, which is often enough to kill any party. Much like the earlier Ozzy fight, when you finally win, he hides inside a magic shell, and when you attack the switches on the wall, it's ultimately not even you who defeats him. A random cat wanders in, pushes the button for the pit, and then wanders out. How did a cat get here? Was that Chrono's cat? Was it the same cat that we saw in the futuristic sewers? How is Chrono's cat in 600 AD? In fact, how is it everywhere? With Ozzy sorted, Magus can find his ultimate equipment, the Gloom set, in a hidden room just south of the boss room. The Gloom scythe does more damage the more party members are dead, really reinforcing Magus's solo-focused battle style. Interesting side note, if you finish Magus's side quest and do defeat Ozzy in this time period, when you travel forward to 1000 AD, the human monster war finished quite quickly, and all the monsters now are actually super chill and get on pretty well with all the humans. With Magus sorted, we can now move on to helping Fiona, who isn't a playable character but does tie into Robo and Luca's storylines. Remember the woman in 12,000 BC Zeal with the sapling? Queen Zeal told her to destroy it and we told her to plant it. Well, in 600 AD, her descendant Fiona still has that sapling, and Fiona wants to plant it to revive the desert into a forest, but the desert is full of monsters, so we go and sort that out. This means falling into the whirling sand and clearing out the skeletons below, and the idea of an optional super boss hiding in the desert also draws parallels to Ruby Weapon in Final Fantasy VII. The desert boss hides underground and only pops up every few seconds, and you must run up to it to start the fight. However, you're also on this conveyor belt of moving sand dunes, so movement is quite hindered. You don't get any sort of bonus for starting the fight in any specific corner.
You know what I'm reminded of from this room? Is the Team Rocket headquarters in Pokemon Red and Blue. Dude, does anyone know what I'm talking about? There's just like conveyor belts everywhere, and you're just getting pushed all over the place, trying to pick your fights without getting shoved into the wrong one.
Of the room, and one thing to note about all these optional bosses is they are incredibly hard. If you take your turns too slow or use the wrong spell at the wrong time and make more than 1 or 2 mistakes during these fights, and they're about 20 minutes each, you will be killed. You're dealing with much higher...
Yeah, if you take your turn too slow, you'll be killed. Yeah.
Damage numbers, and setting up your armor to absorb the correct element is essential to surviving. This desert boss has a super high defense unless you use water or ice magic, which hardens the sand of the skeletal body and reduces their defense. With the desert cleared of enemies, we tell Fiona it's safe to plant the seed. Unfortunately, regrowing a forest takes hundreds of years, and she doesn't have the family or the help to maintain a vigil for several centuries. Thankfully, Robo is willing to stay behind and tend the forest from now until it's finished. If you agree to this, you'll now see Robo in the overworld tilling the ground. He finally found his purpose, not in machines or destruction, but in nature and regrowth. And if you jump forward to 1000 AD, the desert is now a lush forest, and just on the edge of that forest, there is a church built to honor Fiona and Robo, the saviors of nature. Reactivating Robo within the...
You just drop off a party member for 1,000 years!
Church takes some time because he's been working non-stop for 400 years, but he does remember us like it was yesterday and happily rejoins us. This leads to a campfire scene where everyone is enjoying the forest at night, and Robo theorizes the time gates may not even be a creation of Lavos, but instead another entity.
At least he should have a whole bunch of XP level ups from that lot amount of time.
Who simply wishes us to witness the events of time. This then leads to one of the darker moments of Chrono Trigger, one of the few events you cannot return to in time and try again. While everyone is asleep, Luca wakes up. She opens a red time portal and travels back to 990 AD, 10 years ago, to the night she wishes she could change. We've seen Luca's dad, Tobin, before, but never Luca's mum, Lara, and this is why. When Luca was a child, her father Tobin was obsessed with inventions and science, so much so that he ignored Luca. This made Luca resent science, and she saw it as stealing her father away from her. Then one day she sees her mum clean one of the dad's inventions, get her skirt caught in a moving part, and dragged into the machine. Lara is screaming for Luca to do something, to turn off the machine, to help her, but Luca is just a child and doesn't know what to do. She can only watch helplessly as the machine rips through her mum's legs, leaving her disabled. Luca, despite
What the fuck? What? Why does he have a moving sidewalk of death in the kitchen?
Child blames herself for not being able to save her mum from this machine, and through her diary notes you discover that Luca only became an inventor so she would know enough about machines to save someone if this ever happens again. If only I knew more, she writes. So this red gate, taken alone while the rest of the party sleeps, is Luca's chance to set things right as an adult. By reading Tobin's diary, you discover the shut-off password.
Okay, I'm immediately thinking that if she saves mom, Luca doesn't become an inventor, and then that screws everything up. It's kind of like if someone, it's kind of like the, what is it? The canon in the Spider-Verse, Like Uncle Ben has to die or Peter doesn't become Spider-Man.
Password to the machine is his wife's name, Lara, or Lara on the controller. However, an additional challenge compared to the previous passwords, you only have about 4 seconds to put this code in. It is a super quick moment, and if you're able to do it, the machine stops and you save your mum. Doing this causes Tobin to spend more time with Luca and pass the passion for inventing onto her. So Luca now grows up loving machines instead of feeling indebted to learn it. When you return to the campfire,
Oh, okay. Well, alright, that's convenient.
whether you're able to save Luca's mum or not, Robo greets you and gives you a gift, the Green Dream. It's a piece of amber from the forest forged inside him under immense pressure for 400 years. This is an equipable accessory which revives you once during battle. And now we know Luca's backstory. We begin to see that every character in Chrono Trigger is following a life created by a childhood issue, which slowly
Xander, thank you for the Prime, buddy. I appreciate that. Welcome.
solidifies into a personality, and then they get the chance to face that issue head on and find closure, becoming who they actually want to be. With the forest regrown, we have more to explore with Robo, mainly why the robots in the far future began to attack him, or why the computer system is now so hostile to humans. So with the Epoch flying, we can return to the original robot factory, to Geno Dome, and search out some answers. To complete Robo's side quest, you must have Robo positioned in the top slot of the party and act as the leader. When you enter the factory, another robot greets Robo and you learn his real name, Prometheus. This is apt, as Robo is effectively named after the god who defied Olympus and brought fire to the humans, in this case in the form of technology. The robot factory itself is a large multi-floor puzzle with various switches and doors and another new mechanic. Walking into this indent will charge Robo with electrical energy, and this only lasts a short time and needs to be taken to the other doors to open them. This means sprinting quickly through the level to access new parts, and eventually we discover the secret and truth of the
I like how he says sprinting as if there's a sprint button.
factory. The few remaining humans in this time period are being processed into fuel to continue powering the facility. To shut this down, we need to reach the mainframe, or as Robo calls it, Mother. The timings needed to take the electrical discharge from one station to the next are super tight, and a large part of this factory is a puzzle in reversing the direction of this conveyor belt to make the run possible. Eventually, when you push through, you bump into Robo's old girlfriend. Robo's girlfriend is called
It's just Robo with a bow.
Atropos, which continues the mythical nature of Robo's side quest. With Robo himself being Prometheus and his girlfriend Atropos, the name Atropos is one of the 3 sisters of fate in Greek mythology, specifically the sister of fate who would cut the thread of life and decide how and when someone dies. And she congratulates him, stating his purpose was always to infiltrate human society, learn from it, and destroy it from within. And while Robo doesn't deny that this was his original purpose, he insists he is no longer under the control of Mother and cannot believe this is what has become of both his time and his kin. This leads to one of the first one-on-one showdown fights where Robo must fight his old girlfriend before she kills his human friends. You both have the same moveset, but Robo is slightly stronger, so keep punching until she breaks, and then in a rather
You just beat her. You just punch your girlfriend until you win.
the emotional moment, destroying Robo's girlfriend gives her a moment of lucidity, of memories before Mother rewrote their programming, and she misses Robo dearly, giving him her bow, which is a permanent upgrade to Robo. In the center of the facility, you can confront Mother, who explains that after Lavos destroyed the world, humans had no chance. Lavos absorbs all organic
Yo, she looks cool.
energy as fuel, and the greater variety within the organic energy available, the stronger Lavos becomes. So the only logical solution was for machines to be made, humans to be processed, and Lavos to be left to slowly die with nothing to eat. The irony here is Mother may be cruel, but she's not wrong. Starving Lavos is a legitimate solution, but doing this requires the extermination of the human race, and Robo cannot abide that. So you fight. Mother is flanked by 3 support screens, and these will heal her for around 1,000 health per turn, so the temptation is definitely kill them quickly, but be careful to only take out 2. If you leave 1 alive, you can just focus on out-damaging the healing. But if you break all 3 screens, Mother will go haywire and hit faster and harder every turn, which is
Oh my god, this is the kind of BS that just you have to die and reload until you learn that.
much harder to beat. When you take Mother down, all the factory shuts down and the robots everywhere will stop, and the humans now have a chance to begin rebuilding the world again. This also gets you Robo's ultimate weapon, the Terror Arm. Onto Marl's subquest, reconciling with her father, or more correctly, helping the adults in the castle see that she is a capable adult in her own right. If you return to Guardia Castle in the present, 1000 AD, remember some people still want you for kidnapping, the Chancellor tells Marl that her mum's death was definitely her father's fault. He was neglectful and harsh, spending too much time working to maintain the treasury of Guardia to really pay attention to either of them. Marl screams at her dad screams back, and the two hate each other even more. There's actually nothing you can do to fix their relationship here, so we return to 600 AD to set some new events in motion. The Guardia...
Of course we're gonna go to the past. Men will literally travel back in time and change the past rather than go to therapy.
royal family in 600 AD seems obsessed with finding the mythical rainbow shell, a huge shell made of magical and tough material. Owning this would support the royal coffers.
I did see the quest mentions of the rainbow shell. I never found it though.
And reduce the workload on the royal family. They wouldn't need to maintain the nation's wealth if they had such a national treasure. Now, we've actually heard of the rainbow shell before. The wandering adventurer Toma has been looking for it and mentioned it several times. And if you pop over to the inn on the northern islands next to the ruins that Frog's subquest takes place in, you can meet Toma again. He's having a drink before starting the search for the shell. He even gives you a can of soda and says if he doesn't find the shell, make sure to pour the soda over his grave in respect for him trying. And if you then jump forward 400 years, you can find Toma's grave on the western cape of the same landmass. And if you do pour the exact drink over it, Toma's ghost will explain he never found the shell, but he did find where he thinks it is hidden, within the Giant's Claw cavern to the west.
It's so funny, like, not pour one out for me, not pour out a beer, but pour out a soda. That'll be me. Pour a Coca-Cola over my gravestone.
Unfortunately, this cavern doesn't exist in 1000 AD. That's not a problem. If we return to 600 AD, the cavern is now open and you can begin exploring. You might notice, however, the place looks familiar, because Giant's Claw Cavern is actually the Tyranno lair from 65 million BC, except millions of years have eroded the cave walls. So while you have to avoid pitfalls the last time you went through this to get to the end, you now need to activate the pitfalls on purpose just to descend deeper into the lair. And I love the fact that while they have reused a location, they've reused it in a way where progression requires the opposite focus to before. We fight through an absolute ton of bats and dinosaurs and find the Frenzy Band, an accessory which when equipped has an 80% chance to trigger a counterattack when you get hit. Stick this on Ayla and you're good to go. Finally, in the depth of the lair, we find the Rust Tyranno. The ancient black Tyranno we defeated millions of years ago is still alive and is much tougher. Taking it down this time is however a bit easier as we have access to brutally powerful triple techs. With the Rust Tyranno down, we finally find the Rainbow Shell, but it's far too heavy to move, even with all three of us, so we report this discovery to the king and he agrees to send a regiment of soldiers to bring the shell to the castle and keep it safe as a national treasure. With this done, we return to 1000 AD to see how the king has changed. Unfortunately, he hasn't. He still seems work-focused and still sees Marl as a child. And unfortunately, he's also now on trial. The king is being accused by his own chancellor of selling the Rainbow Shell, a national treasure, to fill his own pockets. The only issue is the king doesn't know what the Rainbow Shell is, so clearly knowledge of this discovery was lost over 400 years ago, or it was kept from him. Knowing that we can prove the king's innocence by finding the Rainbow Shell in the castle basement, we rush down and are attacked by Nagas, the same enemies from the cathedral at the start. Eventually, we find the shell and a letter from Queen Lean of 600 AD to Marl of 1000 AD. Lean explains that she knows Marl and her father may not get on because their family line never has, but the bond they have is stronger than she knows. Marl, realizing that her dad needs her help, finds the strength to make herself heard. She snaps off a small part of the Rainbow Shell as proof that we have it and returns to the courtroom. However, the guards refuse to let her in, so she sneaks around the back and, in a dramatic, fantastic entrance, leaps up and smashes through
She leaps through a glass window just like that.
the stained glass window. Before anyone can
And then falls like 20 feet.
object, Marl presents proof that the shell is in the castle and her father is being framed, and with this revelation, the Chancellor reveals his true form. He is Yakra the 13th, a descendant of the original Yakra who kidnapped Queen Lean all those years ago. The original Yakra who also posed as a Chancellor, the ones that we fought in the church. 400
I love all the jurors and stuff. Just like, oh, sweet, we get to watch a battle.
years later, his descendant is here to avenge his ancestor. I honestly really like this callback, because it shows that while no one was listening to Marl and everyone was listening to the Chancellor every time, the Chancellor was the one lying to them. It's showing that just because somebody is in a
Hi, Jabbers.
position of power does not mean that they have your best interest at heart. This battle is much harder than before, but when you finally win, Marl and the king make up. The king understands that Marl isn't a child anymore and needs to choose her own path, and Marl understands that her father didn't neglect the family as she was taught. They were all being fed lies from the Chancellor meant to disrupt the family. And as this happens, Melchior, the Guru of Life and Smith of the Masamune, appears again, saying he heard about the Rainbow Shell and believes he could fashion it into a powerful weapon. Little note here, you can return to the courtroom, pick up the key that Yakra the 13th dropped, and then free the current Chancellor from a chest, meaning we've now freed 2 Chancellors from 2 chests in 2 time periods. Melchior is in the basement and can indeed fashion the shell into a weapon, or he can make 3 helmets. And the prism helms that he makes prevent the chaos status and will be essential for surviving Lavos, so I go for those. But he also has one final gift. If you completed Lucas' side quest and found the Sunstone, Melchior can now combine the Sunstone and the Rainbow Shell into Rainbow, Chrono's ultimate weapon. The only thing remaining if you really want to be a completionist is to access the magical sealed blue pyramid in 1000 AD and use the power of the pendant to unlock it. You can choose either a helmet or a sword for Chrono, but neither are better than what you now have. And with that, every single side quest is done. The only thing left to do is kill Lavos, but you now have 3 possible ways to do that. The main ending and the route to unlocking New Game Plus requires us to complete the Black Omen, take on Queen Zeal, and then kill Lavos. But you could also just take the bucket teleport from the end of time to the day of Lavos and skip the Black Omen entirely, or you can use the Epoch to fly to 1999, the day of Lavos, and then crash the Epoch into Lavos, which instantly kills his first 9 forms and lets you go and fight his 2 ultimate forms first.
What? 9 forms?
And yes, you did hear correctly, Lavos has 11 forms, but we're being thorough, so we jump
What in the Harvest Temple is that?
into the Epoch, return to 12,000 BC, and enter the Black Omen. Remember, this is the Risen Ocean Palace. You can actually enter the Omen at any time period after 12,000 BC, but if you try the far future, the Queen informs you that you're too late and have already lost. By now, you've unlocked almost all the endings, which all have minor variations on who appears in the final credit sequence and whether the Epoch ship is destroyed or not. So let's take on the final dungeon, the Black Omen. This is an endurance test, a 2.5-hour gauntlet of 11 different bosses.
All right, this is where I was, you guys. Now, granted, a chunk of this video was side content I didn't find, but this is where I was. I was pretty far.
Leading to a fight against 11 forms of Lavos. The
You rage quit on a 3-phase fight. No, Shugo. I rage quit on a fight that when I made a mistake and then I learned from it, I had to replay 25 minutes. That was extremely frustrating. And I did it 3 times, spending over an hour on that fight. And then I realized I was going to have to do a 4th attempt, and I didn't have it in me to spend that much time again.
A mutant greets us and tries to cast chaos, but the prison helms from the Rainbow Shell Mall subquest protect us. The lift fight has us take on 2 advanced forms of Gatto, the training bot from earlier, and I love how these enemies which look like a blob and an alien are actually called Blob and Alien. The Black Omen is a beautiful, brutal place. The Giga Mutant is only vulnerable to magic, and its big brother, the Terror Mutant, has its top half drain HP from its bottom half, so only ever attack the top. Powered up Larvos spawn then gets teleported into the room to try and stop us, and then finally we reach the central core, cloning vats of us surrounding the room. It seems that Queen Zeal also understands that she can manipulate the events of the past through the use of clones, so she is preparing to erase us.
Wait, clones? She said that that was our future selves. I thought that was a time travel thing.
From history. Queen Zeal has survived the explosion because of the residual power of Larvos, and the fight against the Queen opens with her draining everyone's HP to 1, so I hope you've brought group heals. I've gone with Chrono, Frog, and Ayla for Chrono's Luminaire AoE tech attack and Frog and Ayla's joint Slurp Kiss team heal, and then Ayla's brutal physical damage and the combined triple tech of 3D attack, which hits for massive physical damage. When you weaken the Queen enough, she decides to just overwhelm us with magical energy and throws us into the aura of the damaged Mammon Machine itself. Fighting the broken Mammon Machine is a puzzle, because damaging it at all increases its offense and defense, but hitting it with Frog...
This was not really a puzzle. This was basically just wail on it till its armor was too tough, and then just wait. Then he would hit you, and then you heal, and then you wail on it again. Repeat.
Masamune, because the Masamune is the original blade which damaged it, drains all of the buffs. The Mammon Machine stores energy, then releases it as waves of damage, but when you finally break it, Queen Zeal will teleport you onto the roof of the Black Omen itself, and as you gaze onto the planet below, she will reveal her true form. A floating golden mask with 2 magical hands. Attacking the hands is a bad idea as they'll retaliate, so just stay healed and throw as much damage as you can as fast as you can onto the mask. This form has got some amazing visual spells.
Remember when someone in chat was like, you should hit the hands? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
That you've not seen before, and some beautiful new animations. It's like they kept the trippy visuals to a gentle 7 out of 10 for the whole game, but then ramp it up to 10 for the final hour, making this whole section feel super intense. When you take the Queen down, she realizes she cannot win. So,
alright, here. This is where I was. 2 hours and 6 minutes into a 2 hour, 14-minute video. However, you know, I did miss the side stuff. But, I mean, who's gonna know to make a party with Frog at the head of the party and go to the waterfall level in 600 AD and allow a Birdman to throw rocks at your head until you get a golden rock? None of you, that's for sure. I didn't.
For a final act of cruelty, she uses the last of her power to forcefully throw us through time to 1999, the day of Larvos, leaving us no choice but to fight this alien thing. And so begins the final hour of constant battles. The Larvos mouth and shell will cycle through 9 forms, all matching the mechanics of bosses you fought previously. Thankfully, it does show you a gentle fade-in of what boss version you're about to fight. And if those bosses had multiple sections you can attack, small alien tentacles or growths will sprout from Larvos and act as those parts. So you need to take on the dragon tank from the bridge escape, and you have to remember, kill the head first. Then you fight the Guardian from food storage in 2300, Hekran from the cave systems, Zombor from Xenon Bridge, the Masamune combined from the cave top, Nizbel from the dinosaur caves, Magus from the original summoning attempt, the Black Tyranno from the reptile lair, and then Giga Gaia from the summit of the Mountain of Woe. And when the 9th form finally dies, you hear that trademark scream. But we're not finished. All we've done is broken the shell. Now we head inside the creature itself to fight the actual form of Larvos.
Of course!
The first form is a construct body housing a creature of pure despair, which opens the fight in the traditional way of nipple laser cannons. This form has a main body and 2
The traditional way. Damn it, Josh. Oh, also, this very, very much looks like a DBZ villain.
arms, and the arms will heal the body and each other, so you need to take them both out at the same time. However, they have different total hit points. And this was done so you can't just balance the damage against each arm. You need to do slightly more to one of them. But eventually you'll take both arms out and be able to destroy the central body, and then we find that was another shell, and inside is the creature itself. This is Larvos. No, not the middle thing. That thing. On the right. That tiny, floating, organic blob. That is the creature. And as we fight, the mental aura of anguish floods into your team, and you realize the horrible truth. Larvos absorbs organic matter as energy and has been guiding the planet simply to produce food for itself. Reptites, humans, Zeal, the kingdom of Guardia. Larvos needs a variety of DNA to survive, so its entire existence has been about cultivating this planet as a varied, balanced meal. The fight against Larvos is visually gorgeous, it's stunningly well scored and mechanically varied. The trippy pattern behind you will fade in and out of all the time periods you've visited before, and Larvos' attack patterns will change based on where in time you are. The left floating bit always heals the other two, so take that out first, and the central body retaliates and is only there to trick you into attacking it. But the right bit, the essence of Larvos itself, is resistant to almost everything, so this is a long fight. Larvos throws the most powerful attacks at you, including the Grand Stone attack, which creates this almost 3D illusion of a boulder being dropped on the party. Great use of blending there. And after a grueling 35-minute fight against so many forms and so many attacks, almost dying so many times, and after doing 30,000 damage to the right bit, Larvos finally dies. And that leads to Chrono waking up in bed and being summoned by the King of Guardia, back in his own time. And then you discover that Luca has invited all the major players from every time period to come and celebrate the future being saved at the Millennial Fair. The Moonlight Parade is finally held in Lean Square, complete with dancing.
Wait. We were told that if more than 3 people went through a time portal, that they would go to the end of time because time couldn't stand that. And you invited everyone from every time to a party?
And peace between the humans and the mystics, and then we get a tearful farewell as everyone returns through the portal to their own time. The princess even kisses the frog. But just before the portal closes, Chrono's cat
She has them come through one at a time? Oh my gosh.
jumps in, followed by his mum. Well, that explains how the cat keeps showing up everywhere, but we might need to go through and save his mum next. Thankfully, we have a fully working Epoch time machine as we didn't crash it into Lavos, so we set off. And then we see the glint of the Epoch in every time period, with everyone remembering us. And with Lavos defeated and everyone's story finished, we have finally finished Chrono Trigger. You can now restart with New Game Plus. You keep all your levels and stats, and you can try for one of the other 14 endings. Total gameplay time, about 20 hours for the complete main ending and all side quests, but the final question remains. Was it actually any good? The truth is that Chrono Trigger isn't perfect, but critiquing Chrono Trigger reminds me of a situation I lived through many years ago. I used to work in retail, and one day the area manager came down to inspect our store. They spent hours looking around and checking everything, but we were thorough. We kept a tidy and well-organized shop. When the report came back, there was one issue. No paper towels in the paper towel dispenser. Now, the paper towel dispenser was in the staff room on the wall, unused. It was not in the bathroom. It was used as a coat rack. There wasn't even a sink in the room it was in. So I questioned my manager, why on earth is this an issue when it's not relevant at all? And he explained to me, it's not an issue. But the inspection had to find something no matter how minor. The fact that this was all they could find was a brilliant sign. So while critiquing Chrono Trigger, I had to find faults. That's the purpose of this playthrough. And 20 hours through, I found about 4. Left to right screen direction not being respected when you enter the bike race against Johnny. Sometimes NPCs walk over your character sprite and prevent you from moving until they walk off. The one-frame active battle issue between selecting attack and it happening, sometimes meaning enemies move out of range or areas, and Marl's final weapon being given from Frog's area side quest. 4 flaws, minor flaws, in a 20-hour, 14-ending RPG.
Oh, man. Oh, man, oh, man. All right, so, I mean, I had a very different experience than Josh did. Like, saying that the game, you don't have to grind XP, that no matter where you go, you're going to be balanced for it. But then he showed when he was fighting the queen, he was doing like 3,000 damage a swing. I was doing like 300, 1,000 if I used mana for like a huge spell. So he very much, you know, did. And like all that side stuff, dude, Josh is a gamer. I don't believe he found every single one of those on his own. Definitely think he used a Nintendo Power magazine and found that side stuff, which allowed him to be the right level when he got to the queen. As far as like finding some of it, like, you know, have to get hit in the head by a bird 40 times so you get the golden rock. There's no way. There's no way he just found that. There's no way. So there's so much side stuff that you would need to like look up. The combat. Now this, you could say that this is based on the individual, right? Maybe he loved the combat. I found it incredibly frustrating. There's so many times that it was just like, it's like it's my turn, but in the time it took me to move the arrow down and select technique, the boss would take a turn and cut in line. So if I'm on auto, Ayla would go 3 turns for everyone else's 1, but if I'm on manual, way less. So you would lose so many turns because of the system. You know, resume, not loading your most recent save, wait, not actually waiting. Like I had way more issues than Josh saw.
Is insanely good quality. As for the strengths, Chrono Trigger is a time-traveling adventure from humble beginnings to epic conclusion, featuring a cast of characters with history and future, flaws and redemptions all. Every character's story is woven through the fabric of time, and completing their stories is a satisfying journey. The main characters are without a doubt Magus and the Frog, and the brilliance is while they're understandably enemies, they're both heroes in their own story. Every character is flawed, but the flaw itself is both born from how they have been brought up and what they've gone through, and then fixed by who that situation has made them become, giving every member of the team a distinct feel and a wonderfully satisfying conclusion. Graphically, it's aged like fine wine because sprites are timeless and style lasts longer than high-quality graphics. The strength of the writing shines, as while having genuinely emotional moments, the serious moments are balanced with enough humor to humanize both the characters and the world. There's storytelling in the text, the environment, the combat, and the music. The battle system is deep without being complex, and mob fights are frequent but quick, and each boss has a unique mechanic to keep it interesting. Longer fights are never too dull, as each move does matter and wrong choices are punished, but never to an unfair degree. The freedom to take on Lavos roughly 10% into the game is a brave decision, which was way ahead of its time, and we're still praising games which do this today. And the fantastic pacing means the adventure is always moving forward and never hits a grind wall or an I don't know what to do moment. And all of this.
Oh, hold on a sec. I was reading that. Robo was born in a bleak future. When we defeated Lavos, we changed history.
Fantastic pacing means the
Robo may not exist in the future.
adventure is always moving forward and never hits a grind wall.
Please relax, the new future has a place for me.
Or an I don't know what to do moment. And all of this is set to a wonderful score, which I've been listening to for days while writing this video, and I'm still not bored of. Chrono Trigger is an excellent example of a game being greater than the sum of its parts, while at the same time each of those individual parts is almost flawless. Chrono Trigger is a 20-hour slice of RPG brilliance. It set the bar for what RPGs could do in 20 hours, and still now, 28 years later, remains the measure of what a short to mid-length game can achieve. The few flaws I could find don't take away from the overall experience and shouldn't stop anyone from trying it. So yes, Chrono Trigger was good. It was great. It set the bar so high it is still up there as a game worth replaying and judging modern RPGs by. So to end the review, it's only fair to award Chrono Trigger the highest award possible. Frog. Out of 10. Cheers for watching.
All right, what were some of the responses? One incredible detail about Luca's side quest, the campfire conversation heavily suggests the time gates are created by the planet. The implication is really touching when you think about it. The red gate is literally Earth itself intervening to give this girl a chance to avert a traumatic event and save a loved one. I like to think that explains the exceptional color. It's an impossibly vast consciousness turning to one of the creatures that's fighting to save it and saying, "This is for you." That's cute. Never realized the horror Luca must have felt over what happened at the beginning of the game, given the context of her side quest. Oh, because she saw her mother get mangled by a machine, and then the teleporter ate Marl. Let's see. Let's see. One of my favorite details from the game is how the gurus are all twisted and lost what they were due to Lavos' influence. Melchior, the guru of life, ended up making and selling weapons. Balthazar, the guru of reason, slowly loses his sanity. Gaspar, the guru of time, ends up at the end of time. I think Marley getting her weapon from Cyrus made sense. He was the protector of Queen Lean, and Marl is her descendant. It also respects Marl's character by giving her a weapon so she could protect herself as the independent and adventurous spirit she is. Interesting. So yeah, everyone down there really liked it. Let's see. Did Mug not like the game? No, Virtue, I played 16 hours of it, and the point that we were in the game in that video was 2 hours and 4 minutes, I think. We were here. We were on this fight. There was that much remaining. However, yeah, just to recap it again, the way the combat system works is you cannot start selecting what you're going to do until your bar is full. Then the menu appears, and you can hit like, okay, I want to do technique, and then the boss goes. Basically, anytime you're not into a sub-menu, the boss goes every X amount of seconds. Which means if you have it on auto, you might go 3 times for every 1 time the boss goes. But if you're doing it on manual, you might go 1 to 2 times for every 1 time the boss goes. So the boss essentially like cuts in line a lot because the way the combat system is. It's like if you took turn-based in real-time fighting and you tried to make something the worst of both worlds. So really hated the combat system, and it became more troublesome the further you went. There were other issues. The speed up game speed button was the exact same as the auto combat button. In the first part of the game, when you selected, like, I want you to hit this guy in the left arm, it kept doing that. But in the later parts of the game, it would forget that every single round of combat, and you would have to reselect your target every single round of combat. When you hit resume, it did not load your last save. It loaded their last auto save, which might have been 3 saves ago. When you use the wait function, it didn't actually seem to have any impact on the game. It didn't wait. The storytelling was fine, barring a few rare moments. But yeah, the storytelling was fine. I don't really have any beef with that. The graphics were good. The sound was fine. But yeah, the combat. Oh, also, anytime I died on this fight right here, because like some of it was just like, okay, you hit this hand, she counters and kills you, and I'm like, okay, reload. 20 minutes in the back passed. And you couldn't save between that. So I redid the fight before this one 3 or 4 times to get more attempts on this fight. The wait function does wait, but only when you're selecting attack or item. Which is not good enough. When it's your turn and you're frantically trying to tell your guy to cast heal, and then the boss cuts in line and kills you because you couldn't navigate to that menu in time, it's not good enough. Thank you, Dussel. Dussel. Yeah, the wait, only waiting in certain menus is not adequate. Let's see. The wait mode works when you're in sub-menus in combat. When you're in the tech item menu, the combat will stop, but while in the surface menu, the combat runs normal. Exactly. So it's like, okay, we're all low health. The next time it's the frog's turn, I need to go down to technique and hit heal. And then it's the frog's turn, and I'm like, technique, and then she hits us and we die. That happens so many times. It happens so many times where, because basically every time you navigate on that menu, the boss is getting like a fraction of another turn. And that adds up. That adds up really fast. It just every time you're doing anything other than auto, the boss is getting a fraction of an additional turn when you're navigating through any menus. Is there maybe a problem with the wait combat system in this fancy animated version? Because I played SNES, I've had any problems with it. I'm not sure. Maybe it was worse on Steam. I don't know. A question: do you think if you knew anything from that video, you could have a different opinion or continue playing? No. No, I wanted to like it because there was so many passionate members of our community that wanted me to play it, and they want to see me have a good experience with it. But no. Again, story was pretty cool. I understand why it was a GOAT of its time period. But playing this now and the experience I had, not only do I not have the desire to reinstall it and play it again, I do not wish to, like, I want to memorize the name of this combat system and avoid every other game that has it. That was incredibly frustrating. Like, so irritating. Just be like, oh, they cut in line again. Oh, they cut in line again. Oh, I'm dead because they cut in line again. Got to play another 20 minutes to get back to where we were. The ATB. Yeah, couldn't. So it's like, if you're going to have a combat system that frustrating, I need to be able to reload back to 5 seconds ago. And I don't. So it had a archaic save system combined with frustrating combat, which made you have to just replay really big chunks a lot. Understandable, but a bummer you guys are frustrated. Yeah, and I wish I had it. I wish I had been able to show you guys me having an absolute blast at this, but sadly I just wasn't able to. To be fair, other ATV games will actually wait because they don't have double and triple text. Especially with games like Octopath Out and Event. Well, if it uses wait all the time, isn't that just simply turn-based at that point? And not ATV? Especially with games like Octopath Out and Available, why play this? You know what? Hey, I'll say something nice about it. You know what's... I really enjoyed Octopath Traveler 2. Octopath Traveler 2, I was frustrated near the end of the game. There was a boss fight that required you to have all 8 people leveled up. I had been leveling like 5 of them. I had to off-stream grind XP for hours to level up the other people. In this game, it was quite nice that I never had to grind XP for the people I didn't have in my party on a regular basis. That's something nice I have to say about it. It was kind of like in Pokemon, after you get XP share, and the guys that are in your group are all getting XP. It was like that, but all the time. That was great. I did like that. Unfortunately, there was just, yeah, I would say Octopath as a whole was far less frustrating than this. Modern ATB is just turn-based, but with the twist that speed, it can have you take more frequent turns and laps sometimes. Like it did in V2 Better Port, I guess the 3 Final Fantasy. With mods, you can save state it. Well, I mean, with mods, you could probably give the robot boobs, but I mean... Come on. With mods, you can do anything. The world is your oyster with mods. I mean, you got so many options there. Maybe I'll go like Chrono Cross better. I don't know anything. Other than you guys telling me that Chrono Cross is the sequel to Chrono Trigger, I don't know anything about it. Also, the Chrono Trigger being an egg. That was surprising as well. Better chat, slower game speed, and more side quests would have helped. A lot of combats are brutal when you don't do at least some of the side content. Yeah, again, that goes back to so many people being like, you never have to grind XP in this game. You're always the right level. Until I got to the second half of the game, Muck, you skipped too much side stuff. You're the wrong level. You need to go grind. It's like, boy, they sure turned around fast. They changed their tune real quick as soon as things started getting tough. Oh no, Muck, you need to leave this ship and go grind. Better check. Yeah, no, I was trying to grade the game just upon the game itself. I did mention more than once that I have never, I think in 7 years of streaming, had this many spoilers thrown at me while playing a title. And we're averaging, 80 to 100 games a year right now. So that was incredible. But I was not bringing that up while we were talking about the game itself, because I was trying to just, grade the game for what it was. Until you skipped the end story and went to the final dungeon. But Thistle, I didn't know that. We got the ship, and it was like, we got to find the bad guys. And I flew around for 2 seconds and ran into it. And I'm like, this looks like it's possibly that. And I go in there, and there's the bad guys. And I'm like, oh, this is it. I found them. All right, easy. I had no way of knowing that I had skipped a ton of stuff there. It just I mean, there's no quest log in the game. There's no map markers. I just stumbled into it, and it seemed logical. Giant evil spaceship. Maybe that's them. Maybe that's the thing. It seemed very logical that that felt like where I was supposed to go. You don't need to grind, but you shouldn't skip the side content. Well, the only side content I missed was the side stories. However, the side stories was like, what was it? It was like, go farm feathers and fangs in the dinosaur period, buy ruby armor, go to the future, go to the secret cave, don the ruby armor, fight a sun, and then the sun turns into a moonstone. Then go back to the past, put the moonstone down in a cave, go to the future, go to get the moonstone, but it's been stolen by a guy who is Scrooge McDuck. Go to the past and give his mom some $9,000 bacon so that she teaches her kids how to be good freaking people. Then go back to the future and the innkeep gives you back the moonstone. Then go to the end of time and get an egg or something and take the moonstone and the egg. I don't remember how those mix. And you somehow, and then you got to go to the fair and you got to win a bunch of games at the fair. And then you use that to buy a clone of Chrono, and clone lives don't matter because we're going to kill him. And then you take the egg and the moonstone and Chrono and you go to the future where he was supposed to die from Lavos, and you swap out the clone with him, and then you come back to the present, and then you can use Chrono, and it's just like, what? Okay, so there's no way I would have figured any of that out. There is no way I would have figured any of that crap out. I would say some of those side contents, there were bits and pieces I figured out. Like when they mentioned it takes thousands of years for the moonstone to form, I was like, oh, I just got to take a stone to the past, go to the future, pick it up. Like, boom, I figured that out, but I didn't know where that fit in the story. We never got to that part. So you're saying I skipped so much side stuff. The side stuff I skipped was this insanely convoluted. I don't think I would have figured it out. I think even if I did 3 more playthroughs of this game, I would have never figured out how to save Chrono. I would have never figured out how to, what was the other thing? Get the special thing for the frog that involved you having to stand on the cliff and let the bird throw rocks at you 14 times so you get a golden rock stone to the head. Like some of that stuff is just like not in a dozen playthroughs would I have ever figured out that was side content. Robot beating up his girlfriend. Yeah, Robot just beating his wife, whatever that was. That was another thing. But can you explain the entire lore like this? The entire lore like this. It's basically, okay, you ever seen the version of Transformers where Unicron is at the center of the planet? This is that, except it's Lavos. That's it. And then, Lavos is waking up, and we got to beat him up so he doesn't destroy the planet. You didn't even get to Gaspar after Mega suggested talking to him before the Black Omen appeared, and you were just like, oh, whoa, what's this? I didn't get to Gaspar. Mega suggested talking to him. I don't even remember that. So it's possible that I might have missed that line of dialogue. It's not nearly as convoluted as trying to get Reggies in Pokemon Gen 3. Well, I mean, Pokemon game, typically if you want information on Pokemon, you just Google that. Is 1995 getting lost as a feature? Oh yeah, no, I have a lot of like magazines like Nintendo Power and stuff like that from that time period. I just have it as like, memories. So I mean, yeah, very much games of that period, people would have to look up, what was going on. The golden rock stone a bird throws at you isn't even good. It's just a hidden secret that's especially bizarre. I always thought it was a joke the developers intended. Muck, you might need something straightforward after this. Might I suggest Spider-Man? Anyway, that is our playthrough of Chrono Trigger, along with watching Josh Strife Hayes' video on it. Was it good, Chrono Trigger? Very cool watch. Got to see the stuff that I missed. Definitely disagree with him on some stuff, but I have already said what that stuff was. Definitely avoiding anything ATB in the future. I have tasted it, and I did not like the flavor. But again, story was fine. The time travel stuff, that was great. But definitely the combat system combined with the save system, combined with the weight system was so bad. It offset everything else for me. But yeah, that's it. Hopefully you guys got a couple smiles on the way, but that's where I'm going to hang up Chrono Trigger for now. And we're off to the next game. All right, what's next? Next is wrapping up the stream. It is 2 p.m. Are we doing Secrets of Mana next? No. Next week is probably KCD 2. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 comes out tomorrow. I'm super excited about that. If I had a set of chainmail armor, I would wear that to the stream. Tomorrow's Guild Wars Tuesday, so I'm going to do Guild Wars 2 until the giveaway, and then I will be swapping to KCD 2 after that, and then a lot of KCD 2 after that. I suggest a spooky game. Blue Belt! I played 2 spooky games last week. All right, I can't be buying spooky games all the time. I don't have that much spooky funds. Mutiny game. Mutiny, we will be doing that tonight. Probably doing half Terraria with the Mutiny mod installed that you guys seem to really enjoy, just absolutely messing with the game and destroying it. Second half,
Let me
possibly
see your real war face.
Poppy Playtime. We did Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 last week, and we played 10 Bells last week. 10 Bells and Poppy Playtime Chapter 4. We did 2 horror games last week. I do hope you come back to it eventually. Dale, I don't want to disappoint you, but I could probably promise you I never will. There is no point of that where I was having so much fun that I think I'm going to get nostalgic for. It was like, my enjoyment of the game was like, I'm trying it, and it's a little better. This is okay. Oh, this auto thing is really cool for grinding through the weak fights. That's great. And then it was like this, the cracks started to form. Like, even if you target lock them on this, like the turtle's head, then you put it on auto, they'd go back to hitting the body and kill themselves. Like, stuff like that. Like, there's no QOL in that I'm going to want to play again. Need to give a chance to Kingdom 2 Crowns at some point. Yeah, you sent me a link to that. I haven't actually looked at that yet. What is this? Hold on. What is this? Players must work in the brand new solo or co-op campaign mode to build their kingdom and secure it from the threat of greed. Experience new tech, units, enemies, mounts, and secrets in the next evolution of award-winning micro-strategy franchise. Tower defense minimalist city builder building. Is it 2D? Makes me think of Ratopia. I'm gonna skip a bit because of DMCA. Oh, that looks really cool. Based on what I've seen so far, yeah, I'd absolutely try this. Let's see, 2 things I think chat should keep in mind when recommending stuff from Muck. He doesn't really do stealth, and he doesn't really hunt down every hidden thing, and this game hides a lot. He doesn't really do stealth. I do stealth sometimes. I actually started a second Cyberpunk playthrough after we finished our main Cyberpunk playthrough on stream, where I'm mainly running around and stealthing, like, the entire time. But I will say, if a game tells me do stealth, but then there's an alternative that's easier, why am I not going to take the easier one? Let me give you an example. When we played Dishonored had a spell where you summoned a swarm of rats out of the ground, and they would eat the person, which both removed them from being a problem, and also there was no body. So it was easier than stealth because you didn't have to hide corpses. So from that point in the game onward, stealth became rat stealth. And I just ratted things out of my way. I didn't realize the game had multiple endings, and I became the Plague of Europe. That was a surprise. However, you know, yeah, stealth until stealth is no longer required. You know, it just depends. It just depends. I'm always stealth first. The game's the stealth is not. I'm doing it. Yo, one of my favorite Skyrim playthroughs, I was basically a stealth summoner. I would just like sneak into an area and then just drop demons on them. I'd be hiding over in the corner while they were just screaming and fighting Daedra. Okay, chat, you guys have been awesome. Very patient. Thank you guys for a wonderful morning stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. A few plugs on the way out. If you're new here, hit the follow button. I will be back in about 5 hours for the evening stream where we'll be doing Mutiny Monday. I'll be preparing for that. Hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. These are links to my 2 YouTube channels, so you want to check those out. And a special thank you toward your patrons. They keep this channel alive, and I could not do this without their support. And there's a link to that in the chat if you are interested. With that, I am going to raid someone on the Twitch side of things. Let me see who is live right now. It looks like Luxthos is live. Oh, looks like he's playing the new update for Enshrouded. I've been keeping an eye on that. Enshrouded was a game that I played. I've done 2 clears so far, one on stream, one off during the early access. It was really, really good. Would absolutely love to visit that again now that they've got a new update when I have the time to do so. See you guys over there. And again, I'll be back in 5 hours. See ya.